Good evening, folks. Welcome, Stunthanger fans. I'm Rusty, and this is the Monday night hangout on the 25th of November. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the U.S. It's our Thanksgiving weekend. And so I guess after Thursday, then we'll officially be in the Christmas season. So I can say Merry Christmas Friday night to everybody around the world. And so let's kick the night off. All the links are posted in the usual places, and that means that if you are a member of the Stunt Hanger Control Line Forum, and if you are logged in as a member, you can access the At the Bench thread. If you want to come in and visit us live with a microphone and camera, then you go to the main Stunt Hanger Forums page where the open forum is and scroll down. As you scroll, look for a thread, a forum section called At the Bench. And it actually is posting as we speak, and it should be up in about 3 seconds. And in that thread, the title will have today's date in it, and the link says join the meeting. First link in the post, and you can come and give jitsi.com permission to use your microphone and camera and come chat with us live. Otherwise, you can hang out on the Stunt Hanger YouTube main channel page and watch the stream also live there. But you can use the option of communicating with us via a text chat box. And I will do my best to incorporate your questions, comments, opinions, and whatever else you got for us into our conversations here. And if you would rather just lurk in the shadows, then you can watch anonymously. And looks like we got viewers popping in all over YouTube. We got Jack Snavely. Hi, guys, listening in. Gary Sinclair says, hi, Rusty. Hi, Gary. And Greg Rodney. All right. Hey, Greg, finally got a few minutes to lurk. Well, you're not lurking technically anymore since you've identified yourself, but welcome, Greg. I'm glad you were able to come in and promise your 3/4 built Hyper Viper is still sitting on my table, all pieced together and doped and ready for paint. And I'll get back and I hope I have something to show you pretty soon. So that Greg Rodney is the man that cut those Hyper Viper kits for all of us, the balsa wood replicas of the old plastic Cox models. Pretty cool little job there. So now we got some video, guys. Charles Carter joined us, and Denny Adamison joined us. Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Doing well. How are you guys?
I'm good.
Hanging in there. Good to see you, Rusty.
Excellent.
Okay, it's
Well,
good to see you too, Charles. Okay.
Good to see you too, Dennis.
hey, all I can say is it's good to be seen. That's the best
That's
thing I
it.
can come up with.
That is true.
And tonight is going to be a short show for the YouTubers, at least, because as it happens every holiday season in November and December, they rearrange my dialysis schedule. So everybody, the employees get a holiday too. They do it on a Sunday for the Monday, Wednesday, Friday people like me. They do it Sunday, Tuesday, Friday. And so this week I have to get up tomorrow morning early, well before the sun rises, and go into the clinic. So gotta be able to handle a 4:30 alarm, and so I'll probably cut y'all off at midnight. I try to at least get that far, and you guys that are on here with your cameras and microphones, as you know, can keep on chatting until the wee hours because it goes until y'all sign off. Just does not record on the YouTube after that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what you got for me, people?
Not much. More of the same, I guess. I got all my Christmas decorations up, but I'm not ready to show them off. So
Wow, that's pretty
Well,
impressive.
it's not officially the Christmas season until after
uh,
Thursday anyway, so
yeah, I
you,
know what you mean. But
you won't get dinged for that.
no, it's nice. Nice just to have it done. I like having it, especially the outdoor stuff. We had a not bad day for doing it. I don't like doing it when it turns cold out. whatever.
The Lunchke family in Nashville is a big decorator on their outdoor display. They always have great lights and decorations. So Mike will probably be showing us that one night for show and tell.
Yeah.
He went out with his camera. Maybe I don't remember if he went out with his camera, if he just showed us still shots, but it's still pretty spectacular.
Yeah. But yeah, mine looks kind of like more like what's Homer Simpson's house than like Clark Griswold, from Christmas Vacation. Yeah, I don't do the Clark Griswold thing, but
that was a hilarious movie.
That's it. Well, we made that kind of a little mini tradition. Sometime, get together with my son-in-law. He was a big fan of the movie, and we watched that. I even got him some of the, in the one scene where they're drinking the eggnog out of moose mugs, right?
Yeah.
I found some moose mugs, got them for him. Yeah. You stop the movie and take a, take a toast and whatever. So
Chevy Chase was amazing. I think he improvised about half of his lines.
I think you're right. I think they had kind of a storyboard pictures. All right, we want you to kind of do this, kind of do that, and I think they just made it up as they went. So
you know who was worse about confounding the producers than Chevy Chase was Bill Murray.
Yeah.
They said he pretty much just made Caddyshack up as he went along.
Yeah. Well, that one scene that he's out there with the clipper or whatever, and he's pretending he's a golfer.
Yeah.
And he's chopping down the weeds and stuff.
Yeah, whacking the big
I guess he did that without a single word of script. They says, this is what we have in mind. He says, I got it. And he went out and he nailed it in one take. I mean, that was just insane.
Bordering on the obscene, too.
Cinderella story.
Yeah.
He's going to use an 8-hour. It's in the hole. It's in the hole.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, well. Goodness, we
that
got other folks jumping in on us here.
With him and Chevy Chase on the same set.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Gerald, how you doing tonight, man?
Oh, let's see how Dennis and Charles and what?
Are you feeling a little better now?
Bitter, but not great. So
yeah.
I'll stick for a while.
Yeah, if you had the flu, then I sympathize with you because that flu will put you down. And it looks like we got Mike Leinke, yeah, because I see the camera focused on his P-40 Warhawk hanging from the ceiling. Hey, Mike.
That's a
Mike.
Can't you tell?
It's a Corsair. No, I couldn't see the wings. Sorry about that.
That's all right. What's up, fellas?
Hey, what's up, man?
So you start putting your Christmas decorations up yet, Mike?
Our house is fully decorated inside. It's done. My mother-in-law and my brother just got here about 10 minutes ago from North Carolina. They're going to be here for the week. So we put up Christmas last week so we can enjoy it. Probably tomorrow I'll get outside and do the outside lights and all that. But other than that,
wow.
Been purging here and clean the shop big time. I got a table full of engines over here. I just listed like 7 of them on the classifieds on Facebook. And I got a bunch more to do yet. I got more stuff than Sam and I will fly in a lifetime. And, I've settled on the OS engines for combat and the 46s for stunt and then the PA engines for myself. I don't need all this other too many things, I've got too much stuff and it's money that's just being tied up and sitting there. So, some new in box, others lightly used, and some of them are really ragged out parts motor, But cleaning house, starting the contest fund for next year a little bit early. That's where all this money will go. It'll go in a fund for hotels and gas and all that.
Yep.
For the 8 or 9 contests that we go to. So, when's the last time any of you looked at your engine box? My God, I found stuff in there. I found stuff in there I didn't even know I had.
Yeah, I know. I had a glance at some of them, and I was like, oh, I forgot about that motor. You know,
Mhm.
I have a Thunder Tiger 46 control line stunt motor. I'm like, I forgot I had that.
A Thunder Tiger 46, really? That's probably a pretty powerful motor if I know Thunder Tiger.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is.
Well, Charles, you're gonna hate me because I got 3 Thunder Tiger 36s I'm gonna let go of, and I know you were looking for one earlier last year. I finally just decided to let them go because I've got 2 Aero Tigers. I don't need a bunch of Thunder Tiger
Yeah.
36s.
Well, I actually ended
So
up with 3 Thunder Tigers. So I have no Aero Tigers, but I have 3 Thunder Tiger 36s. So I
yeah,
got plenty.
that's a GP40 brand new. There's a Super Tiger G51 Italian. That one actually just got sold. I got a message on that. I got a brand new Evo 36 unrun. That's going.
Wow.
Got a Fox Mark IV. That's going. Slant Head 36X. That's going.
Wow.
There's 3 Thunder Tiger 36s. 2 of them are brand new and set up with a Jim Lee Venturi and Super Tiger needle. That other one, I don't know even where I got that. Unknown Venturi, but it's got a Tiger needle and a Max header muffler, it looks like. And
Yeah.
then this entire box, there's all kinds of stuff in there. There's OS is in there, Norville's in there, Fox is in there. Rusty, here's something you might be interested in.
Oh yeah, an 051 TD 051.
Nice TDO 51. I just picked that up at a swap meet a few weeks ago,
Pretty.
and I fired it off on a prime a couple of times. It's got excellent compression, and it's going to be a little screamer. I don't think it has much time on it.
My 051's worn out. That's the one that's on my first flight, baby flight streak. So I might take that off your hands.
That's the box of engines I'm keeping. That's all the good stuff. But even more, like here's the 2 Aero Tigers, the 2 Randy Smith Aero Tigers. I'm keeping those. These are all repairs. These are all combat motors that either need piston and liners or cranks or whatever else. Those are all OS combat motors. Anybody need any 25s?
Wow.
There's like 11 LA 25s in there.
That's pretty good collection.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
have an LA 25. I've got an
that's not
FP.
counting.
I've got an
That's not
FP and a
counting
Thunder Tiger. Sorry,
the
go ahead.
other 7 that are already on airplanes on combat wings. And I got a bunch of 46s to go through. I do this every once in a while, you know. I think you should take stock of what you got. And the other thing too that, you know, I'm starting to get some more high dollar stunt motors, and because I picked up another 75 and another 65 in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, PAs. I won an eBay auction for a PA 75 for $300. I mean, I'm
Really?
sorry, 65. PA 65 for $300. The opening bid was $295, and I won it for like $301. Yeah. So I was jumping on that. I was going to bid it up to like $350 or $375. That I was expecting it to go a lot more, but there was only one other guy that bid on it, and he never put a bid in after I made my bid. So I got it. But I'm going through the engine boxes and putting little notes in there of what the engines are and what I paid for them, so that, you know, hopefully it's still 30 years away, but if I end up passing on or something like that, Sam will know the value of these engines. And you know, my wife just won't let some guy come in and buy the whole lot for $200, you know.
Well, that's it. That's the story. Is you gotta somehow leave a note so sell it for what it's worth and not what you told her you paid for it. So
Right. Well,
yeah.
that's kind of what I'm doing. I got little notes in there with everything and when it was purchased and what it should go for, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm still.
I'm not super worried about it because I would like to think that Samuel will be using this stuff long after I'm gone, you know, but
Mhm.
that could be wishful thinking. We all hope our kids are going to fly and use our stuff, but you never know, you know.
Mhm.
So,
So did you say you got them on eBay, or how you selling them?
the ones I just showed you, the new ones and all the Thunder Tigers, they're on Control Line Classifieds on the Facebook page,
Okay.
which is the site that Dane and Jamie run. They run Control Line Flying on a Facebook page, and then they also host Control Line Classifieds. It's much easier for me to post pictures there, so that's why I didn't list them on Sparky's site.
Yeah.
Because I got to take the pictures, I got to resize everything to post it, and this other way, I just take a picture of it with my phone and put a price on it. It's on. You know, it's just too easy not to do it that way. And I have so much stuff that's going to be going on there. I can't part around resizing pictures for everything I'm going to sell.
Right.
So, and guys want pictures. You know, if you post what it is, they're like, put pics up. You know, you can't not put pictures. So,
Oh yeah, you gotta see what condition it's in.
exactly.
So
I got
obviously
a
with the
question
classified,
from,
you are having a fixed price. You're not doing any auctions. Is that right?
No, I'm not doing auction, and I do sell on eBay. This is how I've done it in the past. You know, 2 years ago when I did an engine purge, I listed them on eBay and did auction style. But you know, you got the PayPal fees, you got the eBay fees, you got all that other crap. So before I go that route, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to put what I think is what I paid. You know, basically for especially a new engine in a box. I'm not trying to make money on them. I'm just trying to get my money back, and I thought I'll list them on there and see if I get any bites, you know.
Mhm.
And the Super Tiger 51 sold like 10 minutes after I put it up.
How much did you sell your 51 for?
$120 shipped.
'Cause I have like 3 of those, and I wouldn't mind selling at least one of them.
Yeah, well, I can probably give you an address of a guy because 2 guys wanted it, and the first guy I sold it to, and the second guy, I still haven't told him that he hasn't got it yet. That that it's gone. But I could pass on your info if you got one. Now this is an Italian one. This isn't a Chinese one, and it's new.
I have 2
box.
Italian ones, but I'm gonna hang on to the Italian ones. I'll probably
Right.
sell the China one.
Yeah, I don't know what the difference is, to be honest with you, but I think it just sounds better having one made in Italy rather than China.
Yeah. Well, I have one that's a Randy Smith one. I'm not gonna sell that. And then the China one, of course, the Randy Smith one is more powerful than both the other Italian one and the China. So I really can't tell you what difference is either between the China and the Italian.
Mm-hmm.
I got a question from one of the YouTubers. He wants to know, he's asking me if I happen to know anything about Vickers Junkyard in Chesney, South Carolina. Heard he's pretty fair with his prices, but no, this is Mike on YouTube. And no, Mike, I do not know. I'm not even sure where Vickers or Chesney, South Carolina is. I think that's in the upstate, up near where you live. But no, sorry, can't answer you there. Anyway, that's all.
Well, you guys, I wanted to pop in here for a little bit and then go in the garage. So I'll just get on the Stunthangar side, on the YouTube side, and just chat or text if I have any comments
Okay,
or anything.
Charles.
So,
I'm not sure if you heard my announcement earlier, but I'm probably going to cut off right at 12, if not before, because with my rearranged holiday schedule, I got to get up at 4:30 in the morning to go to the clinic. So they rearranged the schedule, and it'll be like 3 times during the holiday season when this happens. So I had to go to dialysis on Sunday, and I got to go on a Tuesday too, the morning after the show. So anyway, if we're not there, then you can pop back on to Jitsi, and these guys might still be here.
all righty. See you guys later.
All right,
Take
take it
care.
easy.
Charles.
All right. So
Oh, hey, Tom, I didn't even speak to you when you came in. How you doing tonight?
That's all.
Doing good, Rusty. I had our first robotics meeting with the high school robotics team tonight.
Ah,
So
Ah,
I was a little
nice.
bit late tonight.
that is fun.
It went
stuff.
really well. We lost 10 seniors last year.
Yeah,
Last year was the year we went to the World Championship, and so losing 10 seniors is a big deal.
yeah, I bet it is.
We got-
Yeah, they're the only ones that have had any electronics classes, probably.
We've got a lot of new kids coming in, so it'll be good.
Yeah, when I was
We'll have a
a
lot.
senior in high school, that was when I was able to take courses like electronics, and before that, you got to take what they tell you to take. But
I
that
finished-
helps
Yeah.
for robotics. And my son's robotics club was pretty good, but he went to a private high school, and I donated a whole bunch of stuff that was RC car stuff actually, but it were lots of servos, and they were spring and gas shock absorbers and that sort of thing that they might be able to apply to robotics. So I think they had a pretty good time with all the junk I was able to contribute.
Speaking of robotics, I finished the simple timer, what I call the simple timer. And the simple timer does not use the accelerometer yet, but it's just, it incorporates the light warnings before the flight, light warnings before the end of the flight. It incorporates a custom takeoff schedule and a custom landing schedule where you can takeoff, you can ramp up the power from 0 to whatever power you want to have for takeoff, and it's going to maintain it over there for the next 20 seconds. So if you want to take off a little bit more power to fly the level laps a little bit faster, you can do that. So it opens the door to that. So because
when you do your inverted laps, will it know when you're inverted for the same reason if you got it programmed to do that?
No, because for that you need to use the accelerometer, and this one doesn't have the accelerometer built into it. But I know some ESCs you need to go to full power, then back to idle before it arms, right? So,
I've heard that. Yeah, I haven't used any like that, but I've heard that there are some that do that.
Yeah, or some use some kind of a power, and so that's why I program in here. Right now I don't have an ESC, but I have a servo here. So
look what Tom's got too. He's got something to show us.
I've been working on the Skylark and got at least one side of the fuselage covered. Added a magnetic hatch so that I can have easy access to the battery.
What sort of magnets do you use? Do you use those powerful little neodymium magnets, or you just got like refrigerator magnets, or what?
It's just one I picked up from Hobby King. It's
those the
round one right
neodymium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very
I
good.
want to get some of those for the cowl on my little half A build.
Just glue a piece of metal to the bottom of the door. So
yeah.
Here you go. Let me share this with you guys.
Okay, I'm on you. Hang on while it switches to your picture.
Okay,
there
here
you
go.
You got the stage, right?
So can you see the servo here and the lights? Okay.
Yep.
So that's pretty much. I'm going to start the program. I'm going to see the servo go into maximum.
We can't see the lights very well.
Maximum, minimum. And now it's waiting for the takeoff routine. I'm going to see the lights flashing before the takeoff. And you're going to see the servo powering up slowly. Warning. I'm starting now. Starts at a certain RPM, pushes up. So now it's in flight mode, right?
Yeah.
And the flight mode has some gain built into it. So if you want to speed it up, throw the flight or whatever, you can do that. So, and this is a warning before the landing. And Now the landing starts. You see it. Powers down in a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Holds it over there. If you want to land with power, like idle, kind of like that, it's cool. And then after that, it's going to shut it down. Boom, 0.
Oh, it's neat.
It's off. So, and here I'm gonna show you the code because it's pretty easy to do. Basically, you plug it into the USB on your PC, change a couple of numbers, shoot it out, and that's what it does.
Sounds good.
Okay, so if you can see my window, this is my window here. This is the program, basically, and these are the parameters you can set. You have a start delay. You can set it to whatever, however many seconds you want to use. Flight type, it's in minutes and seconds. So how many minutes here and how many seconds you put over there. So if you want 3 minutes, 20 seconds, you just put a 3 here, change it to 3, 20 seconds, whatever, right? This is the throttle parameters. After that, you have the flight power. This is 80% here. This is in percentage of full throttle, by the way. Gain is 5. It's also in percentage. So by the end of the at the beginning of the flight, it's going to give you 80% power. At the end of the flight, is going to gradually ramp it up to 85% to compensate for battery and whatever else, right?
Yep.
Now you have takeoff parameters, right? This is the power that you want to end up with. So if you want to end up with 100% power, 90% power, whatever you pick for a takeoff, right? And time to power up, 4 means 4 seconds. It gives you 4 seconds to go from the takeoff power all the way up to 80, from 0 to 80, basically. So, and here are the landing parameters, and actually they're labeled like this: the takeoff parameters, land parameters, right? So it's landing in initial power. This is the power that, say, you want to slow down the plane a little bit or speed it up, just before you land, right? So the engine is going to go to that RPM, right? And then approach power is the finished RPM. So if you have a 75% RPM to enter the landing and 25% at the end of it, that's what you're going to get. That's what you pop in here. And says this first one, 6 seconds to get, right now set up to 6 seconds to go from 75% to 25%. So in those 6 seconds, maybe you want to do your landing approach, whatever, And after that, it's a second timer of 8 seconds that's going to hold the motor at this 25% power for 8 seconds before it shuts down. So, just to do changes, you just get in here, you make whatever changes you want to have, you connect to the USB and click this arrow, and it's loaded into it, and it just has a new program in it.
So everybody from drag racers to modelers are using laptops on their machines prior to contests.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of intuitive, easy to adjust and program. So that's the way this thing works. Anyways.
Looks like you got a good system there.
So what will it involve to add the accelerometer into it as well?
That's the next step.
Is it a big step or a big transition?
It's a bit involved right now. I already did one for it, but I'm not sure what kind of I have some variables to put in there because I have to do some math in it and double check the math, because I don't want to input too much and I don't want to input too little. I have to, the way it's going to work with the accelerometer is going to work based on what lap time you want to have. So instead of setting you can set a minimum throttle, a maximum throttle, and a lap time, right? And and the system will automatically throttle the plane to maintain that lap time. All right. So you don't have a target on this one. There's no target RPM. It's a lap time. So as long as you put the lap time in there, the plane should just fly exactly at the lap time. Or you want to try it at 5.3 seconds, just put 5.3 seconds, boom, it's going to hold it. And the way it works, it looks at the difference between what you tell him to be at the lap time and where is it at that moment, right? So by subtracting the whatever is desired, right, from whatever is existing at that moment, it does the math and the difference between the two and says like, okay,
yeah, you can't hear him talking. Here,
Mhm.
say hi to Samantha.
Hey, Samantha.
Hi, Samantha.
Right.
She said hello, everyone. She called me up and says, "Why aren't you on the forum?"
Why did you ask her that? Where the heck is she?
Good question.
She says she likes seeing me being famous, but what it really is, I think I figured it out. Oh, hold on a minute. I muted her.
Good job.
I'll change it off this. I just told her I'm going to buy me a phone that the mute button's on the other side. But I figured it out. She spies on me on this thing to see if I mention what I'm going to get for her for Christmas.
No, I don't think you've said a word about it unless you were talking about that Tesla 3 for that's right. You said something about that, didn't you? Oops.
Well, he mentioned Ford versus Ferrari. I mean, you know, right? So
A new car. She said yes.
It would just be a cell phone or a laptop.
Did anybody see speaking of Tesla, did anybody see the new Tesla pickup truck that was introduced the other day? And they
look ugly.
They threw a steel ball at it to show how tough the windows were, and it smashed it to smithereens.
Yeah.
And then somebody in the microphone in the background called Elon Musk with a pretty good curse word in the background. So that's unusual for him. He usually doesn't cuss, but I think he said about a 3-word phrase.
Then you call and you head into slow-mo.
Son of a bitch.
It wasn't son of a bitch either.
He told me he's gonna.
Something a bit more colorful. You say so?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. It was no GFD it or something like that, but
oh well.
Yeah, there was a thing on Twitter.
They said they'd been hurling those balls at the windows before the introduction, and then I guess they must have weakened it because on the first impact, 2 people threw balls and both windows broke. So
that goes to prove don't hurl your balls at your windows.
No.
They had a video that was pulling an F-150 pickup up an incline, and the F-150 was just wheel spinning away as the Tesla sort of pulled away from it. Trouble, but it was interesting.
Well, he said that Ford has challenged Tesla to have a pull test where they hook both trucks together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that was it. That was the video I saw on Twitter this morning.
Oh, they did do that? They did the pull test?
Yep, and the Ford got dragged along. Yep, like it was on a leash.
Oh, really? It dragged the Ford.
It's crazy. First thing I thought is, well, if they do it from a stop and then hit the throttle, where does an electric motor get all of its torque?
Yeah.
It's full torque from 0.
Right.
Yeah.
Where does the truck get it? That truck would have had to been sitting there revving up the motor and stuff. And
no, this is the Ford. Oh, I thought it was the Ford electric because they're coming out with an electric 150.
Yeah. Well, there's a Ford Mustang now that's electric too. The Mustang E. Something I've seen that.
Yeah.
But this truck comes in several iterations. But the base model is pretty well loaded, and it is less expensive by a long shot than any of the other pickup trucks out there. So
Was that
price
the
is the
Tesla?
main selling point on this one.
The Tesla truck is cheaper.
What?
The Tesla truck is cheaper,
Yes,
but that's the ugliest ass truck I think I've ever seen in my whole life.
it's pretty strange looking.
It is strange, yeah.
I thought it was, what was that movie with Mel Gibson from Australia? Mad Max.
Mad
That
Max.
look like a Mad Max truck.
Yeah, I've heard some Mad Max references. I watch a couple of commentators on YouTube that cover this stuff, and they were talking about Mad Max too when they saw this truck.
Okay.
Oh, that
Oh,
obviously
one
the
second.
point.
Hello, Samantha. She told me I had to wave to her when.
Right.
So now I said that.
There you go.
So now she can listen. She better be doing her homework and not trying to figure out what I'm getting her for Christmas.
I don't know. Why don't you give her a Vector 40? Looks like you got a couple of them sitting there. So
Yeah, I mean, she has so many damn airplanes that she doesn't. I just take them back from her.
ah,
You know, I mean, the whole damn basement's full of her airplanes.
mm-hmm.
So
Is that Vector behind you one of hers?
yeah, we didn't.
It's not
We
nice
did-
to re-gift it then. So if it's already hers, it's not nice to give it to her as a gift, is it?
It's a lot cheaper that way.
It is cheaper, yes.
What it was is that one has the new Brodak electric motor in it, that black one.
Yeah.
We wanted to try that. The other one has the standard Brodak motor in it, but it has the Ferretti timer in it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've already had other ones with the Brodak, the Aerowind with other stuff. So it was just kind of, we could test them back to back, see what we liked. Because I always liked the Aerowind motor, but you know, now it's kind of going away or gone away or.
Yeah, what the hell? Well, when they run out of what they have, that'll be that because the company quit. So company went under, or went under or went away or whatever. But anyhow.
But the black motor seems to be pretty damn good. I really
I like it. I like it. The Brodak motor is a good one. That'll work.
And
But
it
back
doesn't
to the
seem to get
Tesla, I
hot.
guess I can't understand why Tesla's trying to bring out a pickup truck. He can't even build a car yet. I mean, he's had those cars out allegedly, for years, and he hasn't made any of his production targets or anything like that.
I thought
He's
the three was finally successfully hitting the targets.
I don't think they're in the same ballpark as what they're, he's supposed to be selling, tens of thousands of vehicles now, and I don't think he's built over 2,000 in a year yet. But
Have any of you ever ridden in a Tesla?
No, I haven't.
I have. One of Lisa's coworkers has one. Let me tell you what, that thing shits and gets. Pardon my French. It moves out, man. The acceleration is insane.
Yeah, my son was telling me about it.
Yeah, it's the same. There was a doctor that we worked at his office, and he was leaving, and another guy says, "Hey, get on that thing, I hear that's the fastest 0 to 60 car that is made."
Mm-hmm.
And he got on it, and you could hear wheel noise, but that was it. It was just like, he was just out of sight. It was so fast. I'm like, oh my God.
It's weird because it sounds like you're in a slot car. It's just like a hum, You expect to hear all this big throaty horsepower, but it's like,
Actually, my son was telling me about, he was out in California visiting a friend of his who has a Tesla, and the coolest thing I ever heard. Said they went to eat at a restaurant, come out from out of the restaurant. This guy picks up his cell phone and basically calls for his car, and the car drove itself from the parking lot up to the door. I thought that sounds cool.
It's
I'm not completely on board with the automated driving and everything like that. I mean, I'm not willing to put my hands in the same or put my life in the hands of the same people who can't keep my cell phone connected,
No.
while I'm driving.
But I've always wanted a car I could whistle for and it would come get me.
Well, that's it. That would really be useful, especially now in in the wintertime and stuff like that. It'd be nice to just call it with the cell phone and have it come right up to the door there. So.
Yeah.
See, Tryon is going to get one of them, teach it how to put his airplane together because it's so fast. He's after Nats, he'll just call his car, he'll drive up to the L pad, drop off a fully put together airplane, just take it out and
The
fly.
little robot in the back, tightening all the cam locks and everything like that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. So. That's it. It takes that 90 seconds or whatever it was of excess labor and stuff, and
yeah,
that's it. So
it sounds like Knight Rider. He used to call up his car Kit on Knight Rider.
Oh yeah, Kit. I forgot about Kit.
That's right. He used to do that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. And finally got there, eh? Oh, well.
What you got? Mike's got something in front of the camera. Let's see what you got there.
What do you think, Gerald? You've been cleaning out motors like this with Max and Otto? Because Sam sure gives me a bunch of them to clean up.
yeah. They looked a bit dirty. Yeah.
Completely stuffed, man, all the way.
Yeah.
I don't know. Looks like you could clean that thing out and probably plant a corn plant and the dirt you take out of it.
Well, that's why Mike has so many motors, is because he grows them in his backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I plant this in my garden, and then they just pop up all over the place. Now, when he does stuff like this, they just go off the airplane and they go into a baggie until wintertime, till I get around to cleaning them up.
Man, we were in Watt Moore's shop Saturday. We had the meeting up there at his house, and we were hanging out in his shop, just looking around, and he's got boxes and boxes, Tupperware boxes, just full of all kinds of engines, sorted out and arranged. And man, he had one box with about 15 sparkers in it. I can't even remember what kind they were now because I don't know these old engines, so I can't remember their names and all. But then they're all clean and pristine, and he's got the most interesting stuff in that shop from all of his years of modeling, and it's really neat and organized. I don't know if he's organized the shop or if maybe his son-in-law came over and helped him organize it or something, but it's nice. And he's still got stuff building on the table too. He's building a BMJR ME 109 right now.
That's what I'm doing right now, man, is organizing and oiling engines.
Yeah.
Deciding what to sell, oiling the ones I'm going to keep, and bagging them up.
Yeah. It makes sense to focus on a particular brand and have the same spares for the same engine, and we've more or less done similar thing. Most of our ones that we run are OS, a few Enya, and I've got a few Foxes, but if you can consolidate it to just 2 or 3 brands rather than trying to do everything, it just gets too hard if you've got a real mix of stuff.
I'm 100% with you, Gerald. That's why I'm purging some of this stuff, Well,
I'll tell you what, Mike, if you want to bag them things up, if you can get your hands on Marvel Mystery Oil, Air Tool Oil.
I used Lucas Air Tool Oil.
I got Lucas
Air Tool Oil.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have always used the Marvel stuff, but it'll free up an engine. I did it here on a Enya 45 I bought that it wouldn't budge, and I threw some in the intake and in the head, let it set for 5 minutes. It started moving a little bit, put a little bit more in, and hell, the damn thing spins over like nothing.
Marvel Air Tool Oil is not red, is it?
I don't think it is.
Not like the Mystery Oil.
But the only place I can find it is at no, not Advanced Auto. One of the model parts places, but
the only thing I ever see is Lucas. That's what I've got.
It's probably about the same thing, but yeah, you won't get.
Yeah. You know what? I think Singer sewing machine oil is about the same thing too. I think it's all 10 weight.
Well, the one thing about air tool oil is that it won't absorb moisture.
Yeah, it doesn't have
Aluminum air
solid thing.
tools. What kills them is that when you take them apart, if you know, I got some of my air guns and stuff are 30 years old, but if you don't keep them dry inside, all that aluminum just gets that white powder and
Yeah.
that stuff in it. So you really got to keep the moisture out of them. And I tried when I use them, throw a couple of drops in and spin it to get all the moisture out. Now my brother, when he's done flying for the day, he takes Marvel Air Tool oil, puts it in the intake, flips it over 7 or 8 times, throws a glow driver on it. It'll start on air tool oil and get all the excess out. And then he stores engines out. And he says that when he can come back a year later and they won't be. But all of his racing engines and all that kind of stuff. And but yeah, I didn't realize that air tool oil will burn in a model airplane engine. When you flip it, you better get your hands out because it'll take off.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I just use ATF, auto transfer, as my after-run oil because it's so easier for all the cars. It's always there, so that's what I normally use, and it seems to clear quite quickly as well. It doesn't hang about like if you use motor oil. It flushes out quite fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, synthetic. There was a guy used to promote mixing a little bit of, I think it was just plain old lighter fluid with the ATF, and he used to use it like an after run, just like Steve said. A few drops and put a glow driver on it, and the lighter fluid would take off and just basically make sure the oil got everywhere inside, and and it would get the lighter fluid would gas off pretty much on its own, and the ATF would keep it pretty much forever. So,
well,
yeah, that's good stuff.
My brother said that he always lit his off because then he didn't have to get a run to get all the after run oil.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff you use, it takes a full run just to clean out the damn motor out of the stuff you put in it.
Yep, absolutely. Sure does. Used to be one of the Wrights of Springs taking a half dozen flights to clean out all the old oil in the engine so it'd start running good again. So.
Yeah, I just use my air compressor now to blow out all the old electrons out of my electric motors, clean them out before I put them away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that and
store
it with some dryer sheets.
Electrons out.
Yeah.
You can stand on the concrete floor and stick your tongue in it to get all those electrons out.
Oh yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah, it helps if you're barefoot.
Oh my.
Well, somebody doesn't have for an oil there.
Oh well.
I think it works.
Well, Mike, you tell Sam tomorrow that I got the cowl all cut on this Oriental, got the engine mounted and all that kind of stuff. So it's coming along.
Oh, good. He'll be excited.
I just got to figure out the way to cover it. So.
What's the mystery there? Aren't you gonna just monocoat it or what?
That's what I was gonna do, but the hinges are already glued in it.
Put a little Vaseline on them.
So, then I'd have to somehow try to tuck the damn monocoat down in, cut around the.
Just dope the hinges. I mean, dope the flaps and take the monocoat to the trailing edge.
Yeah, I thought about that. I thought about using transparent monocoat. It was such a nice job John did building it and everything. And then painting the back part of where the hinges and stuff are, because since it's a glow, I don't want any oil to get back in that part of the damn airplane and ruin it. So
And it's a what's it got? Like plastic pinned hinges in it or something?
Yeah, yep,
What kind? Are they Dubros with
yep.
the ends on them? Okay, so
Yeah.
you can't just slip them out or something like that.
No, they're not. They're not the old kind that you can.
Well, it doesn't
You know,
leave
then
you a
I
lot of
thought about
options.
doing the to keep it light. I thought about doing that CLR covering, and then put jack tissue over it.
Mm-hmm.
I looked on, you know, on Stunthanger, and they said that way it doesn't soak through into the wood and all that kind of stuff, and it's a lot lighter. But yeah, I'm really kind of thinking about just painting the flaps and stuff like that. So
Have you already got the plane glued together? I mean,
yeah, it's all glued together.
And the hinges
Yeah,
are glued in, so
because John was going to dope it, silk and dope it probably, right?
Well, he said it was one of the first airplanes he's done, you know, way back when he came back in, and he wasn't thinking. But he put in the control system. I mean, this thing is so free. John put a different control system in it and stuff. It works great. Everything's lined up really good, but the hinges are glued in. And I'm like, well, damn. You know, I really don't want to cut the flaps off. I could cut the flaps off and make new flaps. I've been thinking about that, but I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to do that.
to do that.
I don't know. I think if you were going to monocoat it, if you were to dope just around the hinges, you know, say a quarter inch away, or, you know, outside from all of it, and then monocoat over that dope, you'd probably be pretty close. And then put some clear over the monocoat back, you know, to try to seal back to whatever
Yeah.
you couldn't do.
That's all I could think of too. I was about to say the same thing, and you could do it with a little tiny brush too. Just paint in between the hinge gaps, and it'd probably be okay.
Well, in between the hinges, you can monocoat pretty well, actually. In fact, I kind of like the idea of monocoating and sealing the hinge line like that between the hinges.
Yeah.
But it's you know, like right at the hinge, it's tough to do if they're already glued in and make it fuel proof, unless you do something like where you literally have to get paint between, you know, to jump in the gap between the hinge and the wood. I mean, there's no way. You need something like that to seal it. So.
Yeah, so you know, I thought about that, painting the back part of it, but now I got to come up with a paint scheme that'll look decent. You know, so I've been drawing that out, saying, okay, how can I make this look like I wanted it this way, and not that I come up with an idea to make it oil proof.
Well, it sounds like anything around the hinges is either white or black. That's the only way you're going to get the color match guaranteed between the paint and the monocoat.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Denny, your clock on the wall behind you is still on daylight savings time, you know.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me.
That always screws me up when I'm in my shop, because mine is the same way. I always forget to keep changing.
Yeah, well, I did all the ones upstairs, and then I got a bunch of clocks here in the basement that I haven't done. So, yeah, you'd like the other one over here. It's on daylight savings time, and it's 15 minutes slow because the battery's wearing out. So, well.
I took pizza and stuff over to my mom's house last night, and her clock is messed up. She's like, "Oh yeah, I want you to, you know, reset that." And I left her without doing it. But yeah, she does the same thing, you know. Then sets her clock in the bedroom's 10 minutes fast. For why, I don't know if she ain't going to work or not, but it's just.
Well, once she's in the habit of it, you got to keep it that way, or she won't know what time it is.
5 minutes past, but she does something early, just in case she's got to set her alarm and make sure she hears it enough time or whatever.
Yeah, I just moved my my
Is that a wine rack you got back there? Yeah, it is, isn't it?
yeah, wine rack and whatever. So
You liking that new furnace? Keeping the house nice and warm, and
it really does. It really does. So yeah, this has been an expensive year. I bought a car, and then 3 days later, my furnace went out. And let's see, now I'm on board to get some windows replaced, and he did a water heater and a sump pump last year, and I don't know, man. Real life has got a way of really messing up your finances, you know.
Yeah, it all happened at once. Yeah,
I keep telling you, like with the furnace, pumps, all that kind of stuff. If you need them, let me know, and I'll get them wholesale for you. But
Yeah,
you just don't do it, you know.
yeah, that's it.
I
That's
do
it.
it all wholesale, and we don't live that far apart. You know, I know you don't want me over. That's why you're on.
Well, hell, you
Stinger
probably
again,
kick
so.
my ass the next time you saw me. So what the hell? No, seriously, last year you could have done that and everything. I'm sure you could have and everything like that. But as I recall last year about that time, you were having some really major issues there too with your back or legs or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's all we needed was go, traipsing down my stairs here with, hauling a furnace and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know.
But yeah, anybody that's close by, if you need that kind of stuff, you let me know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I can save you $400 or $500 on some stuff. You know, especially heating and cooling. But
Yeah.
Sometimes all the bad luck happens at once. Like we had 2 cars where the crank angle sensors both went on them within like a month. Within the same month, they both went and had to change both crank angle sensors. Hi, John.
Hey, how you doing?
hey, guys, yeah.
I don't know. I keep waiting for him to show up with a long red hat with white fur on it or something like that.
Couple more days.
You're about a month away from that, though, huh? So,
Yeah, you better not be in here Christmas Eve.
Yeah, but he'll come as bad thing.
Honest to God, I was at Walmart today and saw the guy walking in a lot, and he had big white beard and everything like that, and he was wearing a Santa hat. Just shopping at Walmart. So I wasn't going to ask him, what his normal address was or anything like that. I just, he just got into a sleigh and went away. But
He ran up there real quick and said, "Can I sit on your lap?"
Be real careful. Be real careful if he asks you if you've been a good boy.
That's it.
Every city in the nation now has a quote unquote real Santa Claus, or 2 or 3.
Yep.
The Santa Claus.
My father wanted to go to the Santa Parade, and he's 89, and it was a real logistic problem, but he really wanted to go. He probably knows he doesn't have that many left, but he had to go to the big Santa Parade on the weekend. But, yeah, I admire him for trying to get into
This time of year, though, John's wife probably has to go with him everywhere, so he don't have all these young girls asking to sit on Santa's lap.
She is my elf there. She is there.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out.
Hey, we're gonna change it. Look at that. Time flies. 10:39. All right.
Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to there? Trian's here.
I can't understand what y'all are saying when y'all talk at the same time. Any of you guys got good flying weather? Anybody been out punching holes in the sky?
Yeah, we've got good flying weather here. It's just getting hot now, but we've got a couple of contests coming up soon. So the weather's turning. Even though I've got the flu, the weather's improving and it's getting good here. I'm just trying to get my old bird ready to fly. I've been working on the 2-piece system so that my wing can come out, and putting in blocks that I can mount the some blind nuts and put the bolts in to hold the wing, and the wing will be glued to the bottom piece. So That was my big challenge, was to modify it so I could make it two-piece. After Tarian was speaking about adjustable controls, I just thought I'll make it two-piece so it can fit in the car. After my giant showman didn't fit in the car, and I realised I'd built a stunt that I couldn't do any event, I thought, that's silly. I've got to make more multi-piece models. The problem is that as the boys get bigger, they want to fly bigger models, and you just can't fit it all in easily. So we'll be making more multi-piece models. Just have to think about it more from the start. How are you going to do it to make it an easier build?
What's that you just showed us? Is that a warbird of some sort?
Oh, it's just the Thunderbird. Thunderbird.
Oh, Thunderbird model.
It's that Brodak kit where I was going to use the Fox 59 and fly it in Classic. So
yeah.
It's just the fact that I couldn't fit enough models in the car last year meant I had to leave some models at home that I wanted to take to the Nationals. So this year we'll probably take 2 cars. That's the idea. We'll have 1 car full of people and 1 car full of planes.
The easiest take apart I've done, and perhaps one of the first take aparts that I've done, is basically you bolt the wings like this to the fuselage. So if it's a profile, it's even easier. Because you just go through the fuselage to the other side, crank it down, and just bolt the wing to it, and done deal. So
that's the biggest challenge is getting that long fuselage and long wing in. It take up so much space. So yeah, if you can get the wings off, it makes almost plenty of room. It more than doubles your packing space.
Yeah, I think having a wing separate in the middle like that sounds a very good idea, versus the method I've always used of a one-piece wing and one-piece fuselage. So I'll have to work towards doing that. I suppose there's some gear I've seen on the internet to help you do that, where they've got the pre-made aluminium spars that bolt together, and that would probably, some use different spars that lock together. Some use like a cradle in the middle, and the wings join onto that cradle. So there's a bit of stuff out there.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy I've seen the trailer already. It's 4x6, and it has an angled front end, and it's I think 4 foot tall. But I'll just slide all the stuff in there and pull it behind the car, because I mean, a couple trips in my pickup truck will pay for that damn trailer. You get such shitty gas mileage that I'm going to get rid of the truck, get a car, and anything I got to bring around, I'll bring in a trailer.
What kind of truck do you have?
Nissan Titan.
Is that a full size?
Yeah, it gets about 50. Well, average is about 15 on the highway because I'm got a lead foot. But
holy shit, that must be a V8.
Yeah.
My old Chevy C10 averages 10 miles per gallon, and it's consistent. Doesn't really matter where you're going or how fast you're going. It's 10 miles per gallon, like pushing a big barn door along. So we normally use our 2 wagons that'll do 30 miles per gallon.
Gerald, you mentioned y'all's gnats a few minutes ago, and I was wondering how many people does New Zealand usually send to the Worlds?
Yeah, it's normally less than a dozen people that you'd have. I suppose it could be more when you consider it's the wives and friends and helpers.
Well, I mean, how many pilots?
It would only be depends what events they're going to fly in. But if they're flying combat and team race and stunt, it'll be at least half a dozen, probably more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Samantha flew with the 2 guys from New Zealand. They're at the Worlds. The practicing time, for some reason, her time was right behind the New Zealand guys, and so we seen them. They knew Gerald and everything, and his kids, but I know that they had somebody there representing for racing, and I don't know about combat. or speed, but I've seen the guys doing the control line racing actually.
Yeah, there's normally people footing all those F2 events. The ones for F2 A, B, C, and D. You know, they've normally got somebody there for all of the 4 events, really. For a small country, they normally try to have a reasonable team. And then sometimes they'll try doing they'll try doing some fundraising to help the team as well. But,
yeah, they all use reverse rotation props, I noticed, but besides that.
Well, no, yeah, but yeah, the reverse rotation props might help more on this hemisphere, right? But no, a lot of them are all using the pre-built models as well. They're using GBs and Sharks and things for stunt. I know that. But, our club president David Ackery was there at the Los Hills contest in California, flying free flight recently, and they flew in the Kotuku Cup and the Sierra Cup, so they're really heavily into their free flight flying. He was flying free flight rubber in their contest there recently. It's in October, so he'll probably come along to our club meeting that we've got tonight and tell us all about it.
Well,
so, there's some key modelers here, and hopefully in time we'll get to travel too as well and a bit more settled financially. Hopefully the boys will be at that point where they can actually fly a whole pattern. They're gradually getting there. Max was flying really well on the weekend. I was thinking, yeah, he's actually pushing the boundaries a bit harder than his brother Otto, because he doesn't care about crashing. He just plants them, he just keeps trying until he's planted it, and we've got a model to repair at the end of it, but he keeps pushing the envelope. And I think that's where Otto's more careful, being that bit older. So hopefully we'll get them to the point where they're flying well and we're prepared and we can do some international events. And so it's just all the local ones.
Yeah, it's too bad they weren't old enough when the World Championships was there in Australia. That wouldn't have been such a bad flight for you.
Yeah, that would have been good. I thought about that. I thought, they were a little bit too young for it, though. Yeah. They're really coming into their own now. Max is just learning inverted now, whereas Otto's cracked all of the maneuvers, except the square maneuvers. He's still flying what we call our novice or sportsman pattern, but he's getting better. So a little bit more time, hopefully we'll be better prepared to travel with them as well. We're a bit more mature, it helps as well.
Yeah, because, when we were thinking about going to Australia and stuff, I mean, no matter whichever way we went, it was like 20 some hours in an airplane. I was like, oh my God.
That's right. I didn't realize New Zealand and Australia were that close together. That's just two or three time zones.
Yeah, it's about a 2-hour flight to Australia. Maybe a little bit 2 hours. It's not too far. But Australia is so much bigger than New Zealand. They've got a lot more people flying, but I think per population we might do better than Australia in terms of the number of people flying here. Per capita might be better than Australia.
I need a new globe. This whole thing's pretty old, and I don't like this sepia color either. I like
you got to turn it over to find New Zealand.
You what?
You got to turn it over to find New Zealand.
No, I got New Zealand.
Well, hell, Rusty's so old, I thought that'd be flat.
Not that old. I think they knew the earth was round before Jesus.
That's all right. I was talking about my buddy Wes last summer at Brodak, and it says, when he was born, the Dead Sea was only sick. So.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, I think that was a Rodney Dangerfield, but
that sounds like Rodney Dangerfield. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Oh well.
Yeah.
Hold on, Dennis, you getting me seasick?
What's that?
Said, hold on, Dennis. Rocking around is getting me seasick.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Rusty said something about my clock was on daylight savings time, and I thought, okay. And it's just those things you get an idea that like burns in the back of your head and stuff like that. And you can't. I had to get up and change the darn clock. All right. While I was at it, I changed the other clock too. So.
Oh,
And after all of
yeah.
that, it's Miller time. So.
All right.
You bet it is.
I didn't even notice.
I do that to Samantha all the time when I leave or whatever. I'll start singing a song because I know it'll get stuck in her head. And she's like, I don't know why you do that to me all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I'll probably have to leave.
And I always make it some really crappy song like 8675309. So.
It's 5 o'clock.
What time is it there, Gerald?
Yeah, 5 o'clock here. I'm going to have to go and do the dinner because we've got our club meeting tonight. So I've got to have everything ready to go as soon as my wife gets home. So
you got plenty of time. It's 5 o'clock tomorrow.
5 o'clock somewhere.
That's it.
So is your sister going to the meeting tonight?
Well, my sister-in-law has been flying, and she was flying really well on the weekend. She had a bit of a prang, but it was really windy, and I pranged as well. We keep getting this downdraft in the trees, and the downdraft smacked her in the ground about the same spot I went in the ground too. But yeah, Emma's been flying quite well lately, and she's been working on that little junior ringmaster. Yeah, I'm not sure if she'll go along with me. So yeah, Lena's been flying, and the boys have been flying, and we've got a couple of other young guys there. John Carrados's grandchildren that both fly. So he keeps saying, "I'll try and get my other sister to fly as well." Her other sister June, she said, when she's up in Auckland again, I'll get her behind the handle as well. But I think it becomes something they enjoy. If Alina knows her sister's there, they can talk and muck around together and enjoy flying together. It makes it a little bit more entertaining and a bit more family-like for her to have her sister there as well. So
yeah, the boys, if they have other kids their age, gives them someone else to hang out with instead of their brother.
Yeah, it does.
Me and my brother, we did a lot of stuff together, but it's like as soon as there are other kids around, that's all we did, hang out together, live together and stuff. So yeah, it's a lot nicer if you have kids to hang out with.
Yeah, it can be a long time, but if they've got that company, it definitely adds to the enjoyment for flying fishing for them. Because if it's all just old guys like us, it's harder for them to relate to what you're even trying to do. But when they've got some other young kids there, then they seem to see it in a different way as well.
That's what Samantha always said, that flying against Mike Paris was the most enjoyable time when she flew. It gave her a real good competition, and they're fierce against each other, but yet, friends and stuff afterwards and stuff like that. So
yeah, it makes a difference when the kids have got somebody to fly with. I noticed like when Sam at Brodak, there's a bunch of other kids there and stuff, and they're having a blast, and it's a blast watching them have fun. What the heck, man? The alternative's hanging out with a bunch of old men. I mean, come on. But yeah, Sam's running around. Yeah, Mike just talking about Sam running around at Brodak with some of the other kids his own age and stuff, and they all seem to be having a really good time with that. So
yeah, I remember when we did the.
Sam has more fun than anyone else at a control line contest. I can tell you that. He has the most fun of anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But when we dressed everybody up as the grease people.
Yeah.
I mean, that Samantha still has a video of the next year when they did the clowns.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't think of his name now.
Danny?
Yeah, Danny. She's talking.
60 seconds.
He's about, I think he's a year younger than me, or maybe 2. But so she takes her phone and says, "Hey, I can turn my phone into a mirror. Just look, So he's looking at this, trying to get the stuff off his face, and Samantha had it caked down like a 1/4 inch. and everyone's laughing. He's laughing. He doesn't realize that phone is in movie mode or whatever, video mode. So the whole time that he's doing all this stuff, she's videotaping him, and he thinks it's a mirror. But she still has that. I mean, it is so funny.
Yeah.
Him and Troxler and everybody had that, because she got a big jar of that white grease paint and had it in their eyebrows and Troxler's hair, and I mean you couldn't wipe it off. We ran out of rags.
Yeah.
Get on there so thick, you know. But yeah, it's always a lot of fun at Brodeck.
Oh, well, I better go for that. So I'll bid you all good evening. And
All right.
Have a good
have
meeting.
meeting.
Tell everybody
Take care.
hi.
yeah. Okay, good night.
Good night.
Take care,
Give
Gerald.
anybody the flu.
What are you monocoating, Tom?
Had to unmute. I had muted while I was working. Working on the Skylark.
That's getting silverer and silverer.
We're getting there.
It's looking good. Yeah, when I first I seen you flip it, at first I'm like, what is that, a cadet? Because it's so big where the wing goes in and stuff, but it wasn't flat. Where the cadet has a flat piece on it like
It's the Skylark remote control, but it's a little bit smaller than the. I scaled it down. It's a 51-inch wingspan instead of 56. And I weighed it today. I weighed it with everything that goes in it: the battery, the motor, the servos, everything except there's a little bit more to cover. And I'm at 34.4 ounces right now.
Wow.
So it's going to be pretty light.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
light for such a sized plane. 54-inch wingspan at 30-something ounces. Sounds pretty good.
Well, yeah, and you can cut off so much weight from servos from the old days, battery. I mean, you can really keep it a whole lot lighter than they used to be.
The battery weighs quite a bit. It's a 22 4-cell, but
oh, I thought it was going to be a glow engine on it.
no, it's electric.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well.
Let's see.
I'm by there.
Sorry, I got my covering in the way. There's the motor. I added a scoop. Did some modifications. Add a scoop to get some air in there for cooling.
Oh, okay. What motor is it?
It's 3530, 1100 kV.
Well, I should pull it around good.
Yeah, I think so. So I've got the tail all covered and hinges on and everything. So I just have to finish up the fuselage. I've got one side that I'm just about done with, one side, and then the top. And then I've got the top of the wing yet to cover. I just added all the landing gear blocks and stuff in the wing.
Hey, can y'all hear me? I just realized that my picture's frozen.
Oh,
We can still hear you, Rusty.
Okay. Can you see me when I
Yeah.
talk?
Yeah, but you're not moving.
Yeah, okay.
You're stationary.
That's okay. I don't know how to fix that. Oh, well.
Oh, it just went to red on your
Yeah, I must have a bandwidth problem.
Yeah.
As long as the audio is working, that's all I need. Let me refresh the tab or switch to another tab. Maybe it'll fix it.
Okay.
No, that didn't fix it. Oh well.
Oh darn. So everybody got big plans for Thanksgiving?
I'm going over to my sister's house, and she usually makes any kind of event like that bigger than it even has to be. So my plans aren't big, but the event I attend will probably get big with lots and lots of food and probably 12 or 18 people. Who knows?
Well, that's good.
It's always fun over there. We got a pretty fun family. Loud. A lot of loud people in my family.
Yeah.
I drove up from Delta, Utah to Salt Lake City here in a snowstorm.
Oh boy.
To get, yeah, I'm here at my daughter's house right now. We're having Thanksgiving with them. But we got here early because my wife's got an appointment tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock up at the Huntsman Center. So we figured we'd get here and then we'll have Thanksgiving here. We'll probably be heading back down early in the morning on Friday. So no building or no even thought of building for me during this time, but what the heck, I can get caught up on some other stuff. I'm still getting my library set up on my drawings. I've got most of them back. I lost them all. I got most of them back, and I've got to now compare from 3 different sources, compare which one have the latest drawing or numbers in them, and that's the one I want to use. That'll be the latest one that I have. So I got all that to sort through, and that'll take me a couple of days, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You're moving again, Rusty?
Yep, I fixed it.
What'd you have to do? Get rid of the glue?
No. Yeah, I had to take a razor blade to the computer screen and give it a rake.
Peel yourself off.
Yeah, actually, I hovered my mouse down at the bottom over the camera icon and clicked it off for a minute and then back on.
So, John, are you still supposed to get a lot of bad weather in the next couple of days there?
Yeah. We the main storm went through today. They figure we'll have some lake effect off the Great Salt Lake tomorrow, and then Wednesday the another storm, big one, hits us, and it'll be with us through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and should be done by Sunday. So good luck, you guys. You're going to get it.
Well, Steve will. He lives close enough to Lake Michigan. He gets all that stuff too. So
Yeah, they're saying that there's a possibility of us losing our power on Wednesday.
wow.
High wind advisory.
Wow.
So it's like, oh, ain't that great? We had
Yeah,
that.
I think the whole middle of the country is supposed to get a big green blob coming through it.
Mm.
Hey,
Yep, that's the one we're getting. That's the one we're getting day after tomorrow.
hey, look at my picture now. Watch this. Okay, keep watching, and boom, I made my planes fly behind my head in the other direction. Watch. Here we go. All right, there they go. Oop, they're flying the other way now. Didn't know I could do.
They're not doing it here.
They're
Not
doing
on
it for us.
Jitsi. Not on Jitsi. Must be just on YouTube.
Well, that might be. It did it on Jitsi for me because that's the screen I'm looking at. But I right clicked on my thumbnail image and it comes up with a little box that says flip. So I clicked it and it flips it horizontally. You might be able to do the same to your own. Is your picture box a little bit smaller than everybody else's?
No, ours are all the same.
I guess mine looks different.
Yeah, I see some borders on John's, but that's about it. So he's got a slightly different format. Hey, Steve, can you go back to your hinging thing? I got a visual aid here that might help. Now, this one's going to be monocode and it's electric, so I don't have the same gassy problem you were worried about, but this might be part of your solution. See how on this, I wanted to glue the hinges in and pin them before I covered it and everything like that. So that's what I did. I just covered over where the hinges are, and installed the hinges, and you can probably see they're pinned and everything like that. So that's all cool. And then now when I monocoat, of course, I'm just going to monocoat up to these edges, and I'll clear around the hinges. I'll actually coat through the hinge line up to the other side and stop. So I'll have a sealed hinge line and stuff. But
what did you use
yeah,
for
if you do
pin?
something, a combination of this with a little bit of paint right up close to the hinge, I think you can get to where you want to be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, probably be a lot easier working the small pieces than it would be a full sheet.
Yeah, well, put the small pieces in there because you have to get it close, and then the bigger pieces don't have to be as close that way, and it gets you out of your color match issue and stuff, and you can make it look like it belongs and everything like that. But
You bore a hole through it and put a toothpick in it or something to pin
yeah,
those.
yeah, you see the
Yeah.
dots here? Those are
Yeah.
toothpicks.
I had to do that. I had an old Cardinal that Watt gave me one time, and I was flying it and realized that the flaps were coming off, and I realized that they had never been glued in. They were just pressed in tight. So that's what I did. I bored a hole through every one of them and put a toothpick in it.
Yeah, flaps flying off. I hate when that happens.
Yeah, I know. It is a bitch.
Yeah, so
That's what actually destroyed that plane is the control surfaces just finally departed, but it wasn't because I had them pinned. It was because the coupler broke out of it, and then I didn't have any control and plowed it in. And if it hadn't been at the bottom of a outside square, it might have survived all right. But it was only a few feet off the ground. Well, with me, it was probably 12 feet off the ground, but still too close to have a mistake like that.
Yeah, I went all the way to Chicago and bought a RC pattern ship, and it was a Hanno Pretner design ARF back in the day. Paid big ass money for it. The guy put it together and then didn't want it. We checked everything. We thought everything was fine. I think on the third flight, he never glued the rudder hinges in place, and the thing pulls out, but he glued the tail wheel in. Well, I was flying it, and I mean, I was having such a hard time with it that a buddy of mine that was in the tournament of champions and stuff, I yelled for him. He came over and got the airplane, gets it on the ground and lands it. Well, with the rudder being all kiltered off sideways and the tail wheel there, the tail wheel hits, it ground loops into our flagpole.
Oh, jeez.
Took the wing and tail right off of it. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, why in the hell did anybody put the damn flagpole up on the edge of the field? Should have been put in the pits.
Oh, right at the end of the runway, I'll bet, right? Yeah, it
Right
sounds
in the
like a good
middle.
place.
No, it was right in the middle. And the flying
geez.
stations were on just in front and on each side of the flag. I guess that was everybody thought that would be neat,
I guess I bet they had a landscaper put some well-placed trees there too, didn't they? So.
No, they just had that big old flagpole put there, and he had the fence and stuff. But yeah, he got it in and landed, and I'll be damned if that thing didn't ground loop and whack, took the wing and tail off of it. I'm like, oh my God.
So close. So close.
So much for $800.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a question from YouTube, Mike, about hinges. It says he's asking when you use cloth hinges, do you let the dope get down on the hinge line? I guess like in between the two slots, I guess is what he means. And he says he did that and it made his fail one time. I guess it must have made them brittle, but it depends on the type of cloth you use, I suppose. If you use you know, that like that Kevlar we were talking about the other night. I don't think that would make a Kevlar break up.
I don't think I got hinges on an airplane that's got to be 30 years old, and there's nothing wrong with them. And I mean, actually,
I wouldn't use a fabric that would not be able to withstand having been doped. Because once it's doped, you know, after it dries, you can just work it back and forth and crack up the dope, and it should be free again. But it shouldn't be some kind of material that'll you know,
well,
break.
linen should be fine.
Yeah, I
He might have
think
used cotton or something. If you use, for instance, cotton out of your wife's sewing kit, that might do exactly what he's saying. But if you use,
That's
I
what
don't
I'm
know,
thinking.
even Dacron would probably be okay.
I think the other
Tom
problem you
Morris,
can get
Dac on.
into is, I'm sorry, I was going to say, I think the other trouble you can get into is the kind of glue you use. I think, you know, cloth hinges really need to be installed with good old Embroid or Sigma or, you know, Testers Extra Fast or something like that, because it's basically dope. And like you say, you work it back and forth and it, you know, it works it out.
Yeah,
If you were going to install a hinge with, say, thin CA, which probably grabs like crazy, but
that probably
that's going to get into the cloth. And when you go to bend it, it's going to break the cloth.
gonna break it. He said
Yeah.
taffeta, TAFFETA. Is that a type of cloth?
He's talking
Taffeta?
about taffeta, an old type of hinge. Tom Morris down hinges. If you're going to use dope, that's what you get.
Tom
Tom
Morris,
Morris sells down. It's ultralight covering. It's what they cover ultralights with.
okay.
He sells it. You can get $20 worth as a lifetime of hinge material from Tom Morris.
Okay. And by
Just
Tom
cut-
Morris,
you cut-
he's talking about Stunthangar Hobby. Mike,
Correct.
yeah.
Tom Morris, you can get, he sells them pre-cut in 1 inch by 1 inch or 1 inch by 2, or you can just get a whole bulk, which is, I don't know, it's 2.5 feet long and 6 inches wide, and you can cut your own.
Yeah, I don't
And
like
I put it on with nitrate dope, and they stay flexible. They don't rip, they don't tear.
The only thing is they don't look good because the damn things will unravel. Once you cut it, you got little damn whiskers coming out of it, and you got to pull them out.
Well,
So
if
you
you
wanna
dope
use
a
the
little,
baking
if you
shears.
dope a little silk pan over it, then it'll look better.
You want to use cut
Because
them
you're
with
cutting them with scissors, Steve. You're cutting them
Yeah,
with
use
scissors.
pinky
pinking
shears.
shears. Pinking shears.
You got to
Yeah.
use a hot knife. Use a hot knife.
Okay, I like that. The
Use
taffeta
a
is
hot
a
knife. It seals the edge if you use a hot knife.
That's a
taffeta
good
is
idea.
that's like a polyester material, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
So unlike cloth, that would, you know, like Mike says, that's right on target. That, you know, you could basically burnish the edge as you cut
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And let me ask, we had Greg Rodney on early in the chat box. Greg, if you're still out there, how about tell us what kind of material you used on the Hyper Vipers, because they came in the box with those hinges already glued on and they look great, and there's no fraying. So yeah, if you're still listening, how about type in and tell us what kind of material that was.
Now, who makes the Hyper Viper?
Greg Rodney is the guy that CNCs those, and it is, I can't quite tell you the name of the company, but maybe if he comes back, he'll tell us. He was watching. If he's still out there, he'll answer our questions.
There's another guy that makes a whole bunch of old control combat kits and stuff like that.
Stan Froneberger.
Yeah. And I was looking for the Hyper Viper on his page and I couldn't find it. I'm like, well, damn, maybe he quit making it, but I was looking at the wrong guy.
You can contact this guy via PM at coxengineforum.com or probably Stunthangar, because he's posted there, and I think he calls himself Greg Rodney. So if that doesn't work for you, let me know and I'll hunt him down.
All right. Thanks.
I can almost tell you the name of the company, but I can't quite. It seems like there's water in the name, like Lake something CNC or something like that. I can't remember exactly.
What's that? Memory is the second thing to go. I forget what the first is.
Can't remember
Yeah.
the first-
I
yeah.
want the first one is.
Yeah.
Well, I've used
Yeah, I just-
taffeta. I've used taffeta several times, and I've never had a problem with it. And I believe a couple of them I put on with I used balsa right and ironed them on, and then I went over it with set the silk span. Actually, I put the silk span on just on the edges, so that I didn't have to try to shove it down in the crack of the joint there. Put a little strip on there, and then I bring it's like you're monocoating, and I bring it on, and I bring it, but I put the taffeta hinges over and under on that part, and then when I got done with them all in there, I would then put the silk span over right up to the edge and dope them all in that way. I mean, I put some dope on before I did it on the hinge, but anyway, when it was all done, the hinge darn near would disappear.
Well, I'll tell you what, the same thing, but I found works better than balsa right because I done that. Sig Sticks It is actually made from dope somehow.
That's what Brent Williams just typed into the chat box.
Put that on first, iron your hinges on, and then when you dope, the dope somehow just perfectly meshes in with that Sig Sticks It.
Yep. Brent typed in, says you can paint the wood and the hinge material with Sig Sticks It, Balsa or Cover Grip heat activated adhesive, and just iron the Dacron cloth on, and it works great. And that's what Mike Lanke, I think, said that Tom Morris's material was. I think that was you that said it, wasn't it, Mike?
Correct.
Well, that's like with Samantha's one airplane. We took Sig Sticks It, went around the whole outside edge of it, and then put that Dacron on there. Took an iron, ironed it all. She shrank it down, and then doped it. And it was so easy for her to do because that fabric will go around wingtips, all that. So easy. It's crazy how you can just stretch it around a wingtip and iron it on. And then you go back over it with dope and it locks it right down. And I don't like using this stuff because every time I try to finish, I scuff it and then I get these little fuzzies poking up.
I put it's hell to get old. I put some that are major polish band. There you go. I put polish band on with sticks it and ironed it on and stretched it where it needed to be and around tips and it like that, and it works real good that way.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love this stuff doing it like that. But I found out if you was a polyspan, if you scuff it, if you sand it, and then you get all the little fuzzies. If you take a little piece, my brother come up with that. Take a little piece of Chinese tissue, put that over it. All the little fuzzies go away, and you can go right back to finishing.
Really?
Trying to add 4 or 5 coats of dope and then resand and keep messing with it.
Put it away.
Yeah, just a little bit of jack tissue, bang, and that's dense enough that the stuff won't poke up through. And it's so thin, you can blend it right in and not see it.
You writing this down, Denny?
Actually, I'm going to go show you something else. Let me see if I can find my sample. I'll be right back.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, but I love Sig Sticks It.
I've never heard of it. Is it like a glue stick, or is it something you paint on?
Have you ever seen balsa-rite? The stuff,
No.
the glue in a can. It's just it looks like a can of glue. And actually, you can
Just a one part.
and thin it with a little bit of dope thinner.
Yeah.
And then just go around and paint it. I painted all the edges and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they actually made it for putting down monocoat or plastic coating, you can put that around the edges and stuff and then iron on. And it helps stick down edges and all that kind of stuff. So, but
Coverite used to come without a glue on it, some of it, and that was a good place for using that kind of a product.
yeah.
Okay, this is going to be impossible. This Rusty, help.
Yeah, hang on. I'll give you the stage
Rip
in
stop,
just a second.
rip
Okay.
stopper.
Yeah, ripstop polyester.
Yeah.
It's about
Is that
the
the
same
stuff
weight.
that mailing envelopes are made out of? That stuff that you can't tear?
No, this is actually, they use this on things like spinnaker sails and sailboats, and they
Oh.
use it on kites. And it's available in several different weights and everything like that. The lightest weight they use on the spinnakers and on the kites and stuff is basically the same weight as polyspan. Extremely tight weave, and you can see it's got that. Oops, there you go. It's got kind of a grid to it and everything like that. It's a tight enough weave that, like on an electric model, you can use it without any dope on it. All right. On a gas model, the oil would like seep into it and stuff like that. But you can use it without any dope on it. But if you put like a coat of dope on it or something like that, it's basically good for forever. It's mildly heat shrinkable. It's not like monocoat, but if you can pull it out and then give it one more pass, and you get a nice sheen on it and stuff like that. And let's see, I guess the FAI free flight guys have discovered this stuff. And the reason they started using it is that it's actually tougher than polyspan and at the same weight. They were using polyspan before that, and this stuff was actually, polyspan I think is pretty tough stuff, especially compared to like silkspan or something. But
Yeah.
they started using this because it was the same weight and it was tougher. I don't know. I got a sample of this. This is from, let me think of his name here, Lori Marilla, I think it
Oh,
is.
Malilla, yeah, Lori Malilla or something like
Yeah, the
that.
guy who makes his own engines and everything like that.
Yeah.
And he sent me a little piece of it, and I put it on a junior ringmaster just for practice. And this is how much I have left of what he sent me.
Where is Laurie?
And
Is
it
he
works.
Eastern European or is he he's not in the U.S., is he?
No,
No.
he's I want to say Finland.
Oh, Scandinavian.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Scandinavian.
yeah, I bet
somewhere.
you're right. Okay.
Yeah, but
So how is it to fill? Did you put any dope on it? If it takes 2 coats to seal it or 1 coat or.
I put 2 coats of 50/50 on it, and it's like, it's completely sealed. There's nothing there. I'd be okay for painting. I think I didn't paint it. I left it clear because it looks kind of cool actually. But
Yeah. Well, because I always thought that polyspan soaked a lot of dope or whatever.
polyspan, I had heard that was one of the advantages of it, is that you only took like 2 or 3 coats and you were good for paint.
Has it
John
got a
Miller helped
shiny
me.
side and a dull side?
It does not. It does not appear to have much of a side to it, side to side.
Or a grain?
No, and you can just barely, I'm just, wiping my hands over it. You just barely feel that grid in it.
Yeah.
I mean, just barely. I don't think it would even read through on a finish or anything like that. But the cool thing is that it's such a tight weave and everything like that. It's, you can almost tell it's not going to take anything to fill it or anything like that. And he said to apply it, I wanted to use something like, I was going to use stick it or something like that. And he said use contact cement and iron it down. That's exactly what I did. It worked fine. So
No shit.
yeah,
Now contact cement would be real cheap. Go to Home Depot and get you a can.
I had some water-based Menards, actually, not Home Depot, but yeah, I think it was Weldwood or something like that. It was, the garden variety stuff. It worked great. So I have been looking for a good source for it, and it's I found one source where it was $24 a yard. That seemed a little pricey. Yeah. And there's a kite shop up where near my brother lives. It's got it for about I think it was 11. That sounds a little better. And if you get it in like 100-yard roll, it was down to like $6 or something like that. It was pretty reasonable. 100-yard. For me and all of my friends.
Am I your friend?
Yeah. Well, both of them.
Both of them.
Yeah. Well, they're both cats though too. So, and they only like me at dinner time. So. But anyhow, I thought that stuff looked promising. I mean, I've been monocoating everything forever, and I know I need to start getting back into painting stuff. But painting is such a pain in the patootie, and I just don't like to do
I
it.
like the painting part. I hate the masking part.
Yeah.
Well, I like monocoat because when you put it on and you see that there's blemishes or something in it, you go, well, that's monocoat. When you start painting shit, you're like, damn, I got to fix that. I got to fix this. I got to fix this. And it's like, that's just bullshit, If I could just paint with dope and say, okay, however it come out, there you go. That's it. But you always want to fix stuff.
I always found the monocoat worked good because I didn't have to deal with the fumes and driving everybody out of the house and getting driven out because I did it.
Well, that matters a lot too. Especially, I was started using this stuff really when I was flying radio, and I had got 4 kids in the house, and I'd be up after bedtime, after they're in bed, working on airplanes and stuff. And no way in the world I was going to dope up the house and everything like that. That just ain't, that's just rude. But
like that one year, me and Samantha both got dope sick.
Yeah.
We were doing it when it was so cold in the spring, and both of us got just sicker than hell from it.
Mm-hmm.
You trying to show us something, Trey?
No, I was just running the program on the actual motor, but I think I'm limited by the ESC settings right now because they're set as minimum throttle too high.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to go past that point because if I connect the server, so server works perfectly. Exactly what I program, it's exactly the output, right? Because the server doesn't have a minimum or a maximum. One travel goes from 0 to 180. And whatever I send the program, I can see it on a server, reacting to it, right? Mm-hmm. But when I connect it to the motor, and I was trying to put my settings kind of low because people are sleeping around, so I don't want to power up a motor, right? So I just want to see if it works. So I did it one time and it worked fine, but I had to go over 40% on throttle for it to respond. But it's working perfectly, not an issue. So,
that's good.
I'm gonna buy a bunch of those little nano Arduino boards and some micro switches, and I'm gonna put them on this plane. So next time this plane is gonna fly with my system on it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're that far along with it already, huh?
This is the simple system, the basic one, right? Oh. And this is what I'm calling Basic Steve. It's a it powers the ESC. I mean, it initiates the ESC by giving like a full power and an idle power back to back, so the ESC can arm itself. Then I give the ESC for like half a second to spin the propeller, right? So it's like a feedback. Yeah, I'm armed. I'm good to go, right? Mm-hmm. After that, it's gonna blink some lights, and I think I showed it earlier. I don't want to just. Here you go.
Is it actually going to control the motor though in flight?
Yes, it has some programming into it. What I added to the program, it's a takeoff mode, in which you set up your takeoff target RPM and how fast you want to get to the takeoff target RPM, right? and then it has a flight mode in which you have like a set power and some gain to it. So that's going to compensate for the batteries going down, and you might want a little bit extra power at the end of the flight, right? So you can put those two parameters in for that. Then it has the LED lights, and on the landing, you also have a landing that's programmable, in which you tell it how fast you want to start the landing at. I mean, if your flight RPM, let's say it's 80%, maybe you want to land at start at 70% or at 90%. Speed it up a little bit before you land. So, and from that point on, you have a ramp down you can program by give it some time and some end target RPM, right? So you can land with power if you want to, like a 20% power, more runs at idle, you just land and you just plane stops. It's kind of cool looking kind of thing, right? And then the engine is going to shut down. So this is the simple stuff. So you have LED warnings before it starts, LED warning before at the stop. You have a flight mode, set RPM with gain into it, and you have a takeoff, which you can do it any way you want to. If you want to take off slowly with a longer ramp up to the power, and it's also going to hold that end power for so many seconds. So you can do your takeoff and level flight if you want to fly the faster level flight initial for the takeoff, right? You can do that. So and this is what I have here. I'm gonna take over.
Okay, you gonna screen share from over there?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna step away for just a second. I'll be right back.
All right, so Steve, if you can see, the server represents the ESC and have the LED lights, and I'm gonna power the board right now. You can see a 0 RPM, full RPM, give it a little bleep, right? And now it's gonna look for, you can watch the lights, it's gonna go blink back and forth for like 2-3 seconds. They're gonna stay solid for 2 seconds, and they're gonna start. Boom, here's your takeoff power set. It's gonna ramp up, stays over there, right? And after that, it's gonna go to the flight power, whatever, and then you're gonna see the lights coming back on just before it shuts down. But actually, it's not gonna shut down in this case because it's programmed to slow down. You can see it solid. They're gonna come solid, and then they're gonna go off. Boom, you're in landing mode. You see the motor coming down. It's gonna stay there. Now you're touching down, whatever. You come to a complete stop, and after that, stop complete. So this is the simple stuff that I'm working on. I'm also working on the one with accelerometer, but I'm not done with that yet.
Now, for the AMA pattern and stuff like that, doesn't the motor have to stop? You can't even have a free spinning propeller, can you? You have to brake the propeller when you land, or that?
I don't think so. I think the AMA
No.
it will allow you to land power on, even because I think even Windy had done that with his twin, one of his twins.
Yeah, and
the FAI system or F2B, you have to have the power off.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
You have to do a lap. You have to do a lap without any power, or after the engine shut down, I guess, before you land.
Yeah.
But that's FAI.
And this would be nice for the FAI, because in FAI you need a little bit more energy to do that lap before you touch down, right?
Yep.
So in this case, you can program it to go up to 90%, right? Stay there for 2 seconds and say shut down over there. So you can program this into it. So it's gonna do the flying normally, and then you're gonna have the light warnings, and then it's gonna go like, it's gonna kick in the power for 2 seconds. Whatever you program, it can be anything, right? So it's gonna go to that power, it's gonna hold it over there for whatever time, and then it's gonna shut down. So you can do your landing. So whatever you wanna do, I mean, this is flexible.
That's cool. Yeah, I heard that they said that they're thinking about not even scoring takeoff and landings anymore in FAI.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I heard that one.
They're going for a rule change on that.
Why is that?
I don't know. I guess they don't figure the points or whatever are worth it. But that was like an RC pattern. You know, they used to have a lot higher points and stuff for takeoff and landings, and now they don't do takeoff and landings anymore in RC pattern.
Yeah. Well, look here. Here, this is in my program. It says you have a land initial power, landing initial power, and landing approach power. If you wanna go power landing, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, and you have land time 1 is the first timer is just to go from an initial power to the approach power. How fast you wanna get there? In other words, right? And it's a land time 2. So if you set those to 0 and approach power to approach power to 0, then the land initial power you can make it 90%, whatever, right? And say and land approach power also at 90%, right? So you have no change in them, but you speed it up to 90% power. In other words, and you say land,
because we had Tampa diving in. You know, she'd keep it up high, and when it quit, she'd pull out because it started at 5 foot. So try to get some speed coming down, you know, and whipping the airplane. But yeah, if you could get it to 5 foot, the damn thing went down to 3-second laps.
Yeah.
And just shut off, and then you could get a lap out of it a lot easier.
Exactly, and you can definitely program it in here. Say the initial power is 90%, approach power 90%. Then tell it to go there from one to the next, from 90% to 90% in say 1 second or 2 seconds. And this is going to be the time it's going to stay on, right? And the second timer can keep it to 0. So
I think that's what
you have it.
They're taking that out of the FAI because the guys are still flying glow or complaining that you can program your takeoff and your landing. You can bring it up slow and all that kind of stuff. It gives you a better takeoff and landing.
So what? You can still do it with glow too. Just put a throttle body on it and hook a servo to it and use the ESC. It's going to shut it down. It's going to turn it on for you, whatever.
I don't know. No takeoff and landings. I mean, I can leave off the wheels and hand launch and belly land.
Yep.
Make the airplane half a pound lighter or whatever.
Yep, you could. You could actually take off on a trolley.
Yeah, probably not. I don't like those only because you never know where they're going to go when the airplane releases.
Yeah, that's true.
But,
you could hand launch, and then you could actually have somebody catch your airplane if you wanted, or belly land, like you said. Get on there.
Oh, that looks silly, you know. I don't know. You know, every aerobatics competition in the real world has a takeoff and a landing, right? So,
I'm with you. I can't comprehend that. You know, they would give that up completely.
Well, it'd be like
it's like
it's flying. They don't do takeoff and landings anymore. They come they cross through a gate, and then everything starts.
What?
Yeah.
Racing?
Huh?
Yeah, racing.
We're talking racing. We're not talking aerobatics.
No, they're aerobatics. They're flying in between, going around things, and
but that's a racing event. That's not an aerobatics event.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Apples to apples.
Yeah, they fly. They're flying aerobatic airplanes because they happen to be, you know, very quick responding and all that kind, and they're very powerful. So that makes them good racers too for that kind of event. But yeah, I don't know. I think you know, there's a lot of things. You know, they kick around rules like that, and you think, oh my God, that's going to be the end of the universe, and then nothing happens and whatever. So.
You know, nobody, you know, if the guys that fly IC over there start kicking and screaming, complaining or something like that, nobody's stopping them from flying electric.
Nobody's stopping them.
Nobody's forcing them.
And you know, I think an electric takeoff with a slow power up and stuff like that, it looks nice and everything like that. But I don't know that I've seen some awfully pretty takeoffs with gas airplanes. That's all I can say. I've seen takeoffs as pretty as I've ever seen with an electric.
Yep.
So
what
I don't know.
What a Disney's program for the takeoff is gonna. No, it's not. Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, it starts at 0 and goes to some kind of RPM.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
I can add to it a start RPM.
Yeah, I actually do that sometimes. I have an all-American old-time stunt plane, and I build everything electric. So I have that electric with a soft start on it, and I'll have I have my my helper push the start button and walk away from the airplane. I'll do slow takeoffs with an old-time stunt plane. All right, and it's kind of fun to do that. You get up to a certain speed, the airplane starts moving. I get it up and roll it on the mains for a while.
Yeah.
And it's like a full lap before the motor, like a lap and a half before it's up to speed, but I got just enough speed to take off and stuff.
Yeah, not
You
jumping off the
figure an old
ground.
timer with the landing gear way forward and everything like that. It's kind of fun to see them take off like that. It's not a better takeoff or anything like that, but it's just, and I can only do it on pavement, of course. And old time stunt really should be flown on grass just cause. But I don't know.
Yeah.
That plane, though, if you don't, when you're launching it on IC, if you don't have your finger down there and have the tail up a little bit, it just jumps into the air. You gotta kind of cheat a little bit where nobody can see it. Brickhouse used to have me hold the tail up in the air a bit, put my finger down, and then when he gave the go sign, I just let it go and it'd take off with its tail already up in the air. Down on the ground, they just jump in the air.
Yeah, yeah, it's so much power on them. Just they jump in the air. They have no rolling to that. That's why I like to take off with I take off just like you do, Dennis.
Well, I've been, and when I fly, at Brodak, they have a short little strip for, that's paved, and I prefer taking off by that instead of the grass. And I've learned to do not quite what John described, but I've learned to just basically hold just a tick, a down elevator in it, and the airplane will rotate inside the first few feet, and you'll roll up onto the mains, and then I can take it off normal. And I'm talking again about the All-American, which sits, with the nose way up there and stuff, but it's a little bit of down elevator, and it just gets right up on the main gear, and then it raises up, in a controlled manner instead of just rocketing right off. So that's what you do. You want to learn how to make a good takeoff? You fly a good takeoff. Any questions?
How do you do?
Gas, IC, electric, that don't matter.
So. This year the Nats, I always took off like you do with 0 power on, and allow the engine to spool up and pull the plane through, right? So that's how I'm taking off all the time. And even in high winds, like 50 miles per hour winds, I put the plane right in front of the judges. I make sure I put a little bit of line tension on it. The engine spool up just slowly, and actually the wind kind of helped me out because it didn't allow the plane to jump off the ground at all.
Right.
And it was eventless. I mean, just no issue. Even in high winds, doesn't matter. I like that.
That's it. I don't know. Do you want more points? Fly better.
That helps.
And it's a mystery. That seems to be a mystery to a lot of people,
Let's see
how. But it's just what you do, and it's like, how many points are you willing to give up for free? And you don't give up any points on takeoff and landing, right?
What Tom's doing.
So
I think I screwed up a few landings because I was landing. How do you land in high wind? I mean, how do you do that? I mean, do you want to fly a little bit higher, do a little bit of dive to gain some momentum?
I'd come in hot. That's the way I've done my best wind landing, is just coming in hot.
Okay.
You got to have a steady descent. It doesn't matter how fast it is, as long as it doesn't waver.
And where do you want to touch down? You want to touch down into the wind a little bit, or slightly downwind?
Try to touch down with the wind blowing on the tail. I try to touch down with the wind blowing on the tail, because it takes away all the lift, and you got a better chance of burning off energy. I do not want to have a lot of energy when I touch the ground either, so I'm a little fly the approach hot and everything like that, but you gotta burn off energy before you finally touch down, or else you're going to be all over the place.
You got to think fast to get it right on the touchdown in the right place. But right. You want to tell.
Well, the other thing that will throw you is the wind that you feel 5 feet off the ground is a lot higher than it is 1 foot off the ground where you're trying to land. All right.
More turbo also.
Yeah.
Come again?
The wind 1 foot off the ground is more turbulent than it is at 5 feet.
Okay. Yeah.
It can be.
Yeah.
So
at high speeds, if you got little lumps and bumps on the earth, or if you have a solid paved circle, it isn't so bad. But they're at the World Championships. They had a center section, and then grass, and then pavement again. And you get a lip, and that window hit that lip, and
Do you give it any extra down elevator to plant to glue the plane to the ground?
no, not usually. One thing I do have is I do two things wrong. I have my landing gear farther forward than a lot of people, and I still use a tall tail wheel. Once the tail wheel is down, usually if you can get the tail wheel to touch first, 3-point land, the airplane is not going to bounce. It just happens that way. Yeah. And I see a lot of people, they put the landing gear in the correct position, 15 degrees forward of the CG and all that kind of stuff. And they're the guys that are always bouncing. All right. And I don't know. It just seems like a better plan for me to get rid of, that as an option. I'm willing to commit myself to 3-point landings.
I used to be horrible at landing, but it just clicked, especially when I started flying a plane with wing mounted gear. That made all the difference in the world too.
So I don't know. I like airplane sits fairly level, and I try to 3-point it. And that's another thing you can do in the wind if you're landing. If you can be in that position where the wind blowing on the tail, you can actually have you can actually be touching down with the nose fairly high, because you're losing lift because of the tailwind at that point and stuff like that, which lets you hold a little more angle of attack even as you're still descending. Now, if you go too far and you come around downwind or into the wind, you're toast. So it's important that you be able to burn off that energy in the right place and stuff. So
yeah, that's one thing I was wondering about, the tricks of that.
Yeah, that's another reason why I'm not usually finding myself having too much energy to burn, or being short of energy. I'm usually trying to burn off energy before I land, before I touch it down. So
yeah,
well,
true. But let's say
says is that you got to fly the airplane to the ground. She says everybody gets like a glide path and lets it glide in. Then if you got any kind of wind and you hit the wind, or
float, you don't want it to float back up.
You have to fly. She'll land fast. Sometimes she lands slow, but she's always flying the airplane to landing.
Yeah.
She always lands, like at the Nats this year. She got a 39. If you've seen her, she flew it to the pavement, landed on 2 wheels, and you could watch the tail wheel drop and roll out. I mean, that's
a lot of times you want to land, try to approach the ground just before you reach dead downwind, and that way you've got a little lift to carry around to where you can be planning it just before you reach dead, where you'd have the wind over the stab, like Denny was talking about. Myself, we kind of solved the problem in our area where we fly a lot of trike geared airplanes, and there you get it down, let it settle it down on the mains, and then if you got too much speed, you just plant in some down elevator, put a little more drag on it to slow it down. It won't nose over, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. If you get it up the elevator, it'll nose over.
Yeah.
With the tail end.
Yeah, I've actually been wondering about going back. I used to fly trike gears a long time ago when everybody flew jet-styled airplanes. Gosh, that's how old I am. And got away from them and stuff. But I was thinking, I'm getting kind of nostalgic. I kind of miss that. I think I was thinking about building another trike just because they do take care of issues like that. So,
well, that was a few years ago. Bob Hunt came out there with that trike gear airplane.
Yeah.
And he just killed everybody on landings and on takeoff. Because he could roll it out by holding the nose down, and then didn't matter how fast it was going, and just gradually pull it up. It looks on it, the same thing with landings. It just stuck to the ground. And your nose wheel is pointing out a little bit, so it keeps tension on your lines. And yeah, he had some beautiful takeoff and landings, and and on that caliber of flight, when you're up there that high, 1 or 2 points makes a big difference.
Well, it's it. How many points are you willing to give away?
Yeah.
Well, so.
Well, there used to be a time where, I think in my case, at least, I got away from trike gears because we were carrying 3 Dubro low ounce wheels that weighed about an ounce a piece.
Yeah.
And big clunky profile and stuff, wide, like 3/4 of an inch wide and stuff like that. And going from 3 wheels to 2, I think really cleaned up the airplane a lot. But now we've got a lot better choices in lightweight wheels, skinny wheels, things like that. Instead of aluminum or wire landing gear, you can do a carbon gear that doesn't weigh anything and stuff like that. And that's why I'm thinking a trike gear may not be a bad thing to revisit. So,
well, it was like with Bob Hunt having the retracts.
Yeah,
he had all the drag there. Then he popped them up in, and all the drag went away.
Well, I'd like to do retracts. I'm not sure I'm really ready to fuss with it. That's all.
Yeah.
But I'd like to be. I certainly like the idea of a clean airplane. And he said that he could definitely tell the difference.
And he said 20-some percent, 25% less battery.
Yep, he flew the thing wheels. He flew it wheels down one flight, and his power was like way up there. That's something we can measure now. You could never measure before.
Right.
Yep.
So you can get instant feedback on that. So
I had a one incident in which I think I forgot to tighten up the landing gear correctly, right? So I'm flying my plane and it fell off. And as soon as it fell off, was a huge difference in the way the plane flew.
Yeah.
To me, it was huge. I mean, just like you really feel it.
Yeah, Bob Hunt talked about flying his Genesis with the removable landing gear. They were on a grass field, and he took the landing gear off just to see the cause effect and stuff, and he said he was shocked. They just hand launched it, belly landed. So, but he was really shocked at the difference.
Yeah.
Hey, while we're yakking away here, Tom is getting some useful work done here.
Yeah, I know he is.
I think he built an airplane.
36.7 ounces with the battery, with everything in it.
That's
it. All that's left is to cover the top of the wing.
Wow.
And
Good job.
Good job.
Yeah, I clicked on your picture when you were covering the other side.
Now put a belt crank in there and get rid of the servos, and you'll have a hell of a stunt plane.
Yeah, hold it up and let's see the bottom of the wing. Let's see the bottom of it, Tom. All right.
Cool.
Yeah. Hey guys, I have a question for you. The question is about the Igor Berger flaps logarithmic system.
Yeah.
What does it actually do, and the answer I got to the question from him, or in general, that the people that get the answer from him is that it makes the corners and the rounds, whatever. I think it's a bullshit answer,
And
but I want something more straight than that. What does it do? It's give you some mechanical advantage or what?
I get the impression it's just the opposite of exponential, so it decelerates as you increase your input. So at first you get a lot of motion to your input, and then the farther you pull, the less it accelerates. So
Okay, yeah. Oh, I know that, but why is it that beneficial? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, right?
It seems.
Wouldn't you have a soft
I
center
can't
to
see
do
it.
the loops and a very fast end to do the corner?
I think that initial answer was a joke when he said makes the loops rounder and the square squarer. So, you know,
All right. Dennis, you're saying?
I'm happy for him.
That's it?
We sidestepped that one.
Yeah, I am more, let's just say I am a heck of a lot more likely to build a exponential bell crank system with linear rates, linear outputs out of the flaps and elevators than I am in trying to mix, the logarithmic flap and stuff like that.
yeah,
It's like,
exponential to me would tend to dampen your quick twitchy. You know, if you've
well,
got
it would tend to make
nervous
it
hand, it
easier.
would dampen that.
It would tend, if I may borrow the phrase, it would make it easier to fly your rounds rounder and your squares
Yeah,
squarer, wouldn't it?
it would dampen your nervous hand. You know.
Yeah. So okay, here's and Igor. I don't want to sound like I'm picking on him too hard or anything like that. I mean, he's had some pretty darn good success, right? But it's I can't. The only advantage I could see to it is if you had say you had an airplane and you made it 100 square inches too small, and then made up for that by having a very active flap to make up for the lack of wing area. Does that make sense? So you'd create a
That
lot of
does make
extra
sense,
lift.
yeah. Mhm.
I
That
could
does.
see it, something like that. So a lot of extra lift in a normal airplane. Just not sure that. I don't know that I need that when I'm
It would make,
flying, either a round or a square corner, frankly.
the way I see it, it would make it twitchy.
Yeah, but what I noticed, and I think I read it on his website or something like that, is he's doing that not because of the is doing more for mechanical advantage, because as the flaps gets deflected, depending on how much pull you have on the lines, you can hold it deflected in that position, right? You have no line
I
tension, you
don't
have
know.
no control.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know about that part of it, and I guess I'd have to think about that a while. But Igor does not do anything by accident, and he's obviously thought that thing through, and he's convinced that he needed it. And short of saying, if he suddenly shows up with an airplane that doesn't have it on it, then I would say that maybe he's admitting that he doesn't need that, and that would be it. But I just. I'm just not on the same page with him that it would be that I would want the flaps to be that active. So
Yeah, that's why I'm going towards the Expo system rather than
yeah,
the.
that's it. Maybe you two should get together. You put your Expo system with his flaps, and you'll have a system that does nothing. All right, it'll be just like a standard system. So
Yeah.
Like a normal bell crank and a normal flap horn. The two will cancel each other out. So I don't know. That seems kind of crazy to me, doesn't it? So.
Yeah, well, yeah, we actually have in plans to do one of those systems, because we can install it in Revolutions very easily by
Yeah,
just changing some screws and stuff
All
like
right,
that.
let me go get one more visual aid here. I'll be right back.
Okay. So
Well,
now, if I want,
my mentor here in Utah has been Gordon Delaney, and he taught me and it seems to work real good for him and for me and for others. We slow the controls down quite a bit, and we only use about 17, 18 degrees of flap and about 28 to 30 degrees of elevator. And we never had a problem with not having enough corner or having round enough, unless it was me with my shaky hand or something. But it's worked very well for us here. And Gordon has been called the best pilot that never won the Nats because he's tried and tried and tried, and he's always had a problem. But he's a heck of a good pilot, and I've listened to him, and what he's taught me has worked.
Yeah, yeah. Like I have very little controls on mine too, so I'm not running a whole lot of angle on mine. Mostly
You know, I don't
15
know
degrees.
how people like it or whatever, but if you watch Samantha, how much hand she puts in to a square maneuver, because she wants her airplane. If she locks it, that's the square. She don't need more than that.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, we've slowed her controls way down, just because it was like, why do you need more than that?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why you wind up overturning.
Right. Then it makes it jumpy and stuff like that, where she thought it was easier to control by slowing stuff down. And it's like, it turned enough, so enough's enough,
Yeah. Well, the direction in which I'm thinking about, maybe I want to try and test this out, is if Igor wanted to get mechanical advantage out of the logarithmic flux, because it's true, it gives you more torque at the high deflection angles versus that, and I can see that it holds the flaps in position on high deflection angles. There are other ways to do the same, accomplish the same thing. By like we typically put our control horn in line with the hinge, right? But if you move the control horn back, say half an inch or so, and make some kind of pivot point on the end of the point so it doesn't bind or something like that, you can get a lot more mechanical advantage by just doing that.
You change the lever arm.
Yes, of course. Because you're pushing down, say, 1 inch on a trailing edge of the flaps, but if you move the bell crank half an inch, now you have double the power on it. You're going to have less travel, but double the power. But that can be, that's a good thing, right? And you can do the same thing with the elevators.
Yeah. I find in my case, I don't fly good enough to go to that kind of an esoteric system. That if I finally could master the one I'm using, I'll be happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brent's contribution to the logarithmic controls was better rounds and tracking, harder corners when needed due to less flap at higher deflection. Okay.
Does that make sense?
It's easier to bang a square corner and then not porpoise, I guess.
Well, his flap doesn't go away.
He's doing that because Igor wants to run a very forward CG.
Maybe, I don't know.
But I think that's the only reason for which he did it, is because he wanted a much more forward CG.
Yeah.
But again, if I was going to run a much more forward CG, I think I'd still want to go with something more like an expo system than a log system.
Yeah, because it gives you more flaps movement.
The
problem with the expo system, I'm telling you right now, is that as the angle increases, the torque you get on it decreases tremendously.
Okay. And well, you did something on yours. I've seen that. I saw Larry Cunningham did one like that too. Let me show you one. Rusty, help.
Oh, hang on, and we'll get you.
Alrighty.
Okay. Come on, Denny. It won't give you the stage. There you go. You got the stage now.
Okay. now this is symmetrically, well, it's the opposite rotation of yours. All right.
I see.
And this is actually a model that was made. There was a gentleman back in the Detroit area named Fred Bockel. He was flying this system back in like 1963, 64. And he always told us about it. Nobody was brave enough to take him up on it. But you see how the slave bell crank here is pivoted to the other side from what versus what yours is. So the buildup is much slower. I'll say softer than what yours. Yours is going to be a more dramatic action. This one is softer, probably less, less effective, big long term. But it kind of the neat thing about this is that it kind of explains the good news about an expo system, because you can see, relative to the bell crank part, you see where this pivot is, right? This little pin here.
Yeah.
And when you're right around neutral, it's in close, so you're not getting a lot of motion, directed, to the control surfaces. But the farther you go, you slide out, and you're farther out in the bell crank, and you get more power, out to or more movement out to the control surface and stuff like that. It's pretty easy to see how that kind of walks in, because it walks in this slot and everything like that.
Yeah.
And yours is, of course, you've got the thing with the bearings and everything like that. But because you come at it the opposite way, I think you actually get a bigger bang, if you will, than what this layout gives.
Yeah, it's a bit more aggressive, but
Yeah,
Yeah, you lose
but this
torque
one
on that.
also
As
is
you,
not. This is not adjustable the way yours is either. So
yeah, but mine is adjustable because you have I'll have a slider on the arm down there, right? On
yeah,
a
well,
slave arm.
you got your slave arms are made. You can move the pivots all over the place and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know that you could do that here. I suppose you probably could come up with a way to do it, but
Yeah, you could. I mean, look at the slave arm that you have over there. You see that? That you have a lot of open area on it, right? So you can you can connect the flaps or the elevator over there. You don't have to connect it to the slot and stuff again.
Yeah.
Let me
And that-
interrupt for just a second, please.
That's a pretty simple way to do it, though. That was ingenious, really.
Let me interrupt for just a second, please.
Right.
It's after 12, so this is too interesting to cut off. So I'm going to go ahead and walk away, start doing the things I need to do to get ready to go to bed. I'm going to leave y'all broadcasting to YouTube. If you need to highlight somebody to see what they're holding up to show, I think you can manually do that on your own.
I think we can. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
So
we can.
if you need any help, holler. I'll be within earshot. But I'm preparing to close up, but I'm gonna let y'all keep talking.
Well, yeah, go ahead and you take care of business there. You got big duties there, and if we don't cover anything tonight, we'll take care of it Friday. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But at any rate, I actually have an airplane built. The thing has been ready to cover for about 5 years, and I've been just haven't got around to finishing it. But I've got this system in an airplane, and I'm so intrigued by the system that you're using and stuff, and the feedback, people who've flown the airplane and everything like that, that I want to try to fly it. So now as near as I could tell, and I tried drawing the one thing I did in my system that I tried to make it a little more aggressive by making the slave arm. I put the pivot, I think, quite a bit farther down.
Yeah.
And what happens is that you get basically a flatter motion out of that, so that it moves to the outer edge of the slot a little quicker.
Yeah.
All right. But again, the way my system is, it's a one-shot deal. I have no adjustment in it, stuff. And then from here, of course, it goes from here to the flap, and from the flap to the elevator. So downstream of the bell crank, it's a traditional system. All right. It's just at the bell crank itself, I get a soft neutral and a accelerating throw after that. So
Yeah. So this is, I'm gonna draw something here. Okay. So can you see this? This is the classical, the top one is the classical that we use, right? This is going to be a lot of mechanical advantage to it. So what you do, you have a circular area over here, right? And you run the control horn through it like a bushing kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
So when you move up and down, because the pivot is over here, I mean, obviously, you don't have like a straight line like in a typical system, right?
Hey,
So
how
you
you
need
doing?
to be able to pivot around this point here,
Your mom's in the
right?
bedroom.
But this is going to give you twice the mechanical advantage easily over what we have right now. And it's going to cool off the controls as well as on top of it. So if you want to have a corner and you crank the controls, I mean, they're going to move those flaps. They're going to move. And you can do the same thing on the elevator as well. So I'm thinking maybe that has, and that has a lot more bang for the dollar for the buck, versus what any logarithmic system will give you. Because if you look at the logarithmic system, you look at the curve, at the graphing curve versus the existing, like a 1-to-1 ratio versus what the logarithmic gives you, it doesn't give you much. It gives you some, a little bit, but not much. And it's so complex. One, you can do something by just moving the application point of the bell crank back a little bit, and have some kind of a and connect to the flaps that only on that round like bearing surface kind of thing.
She drops it.
Nope.
So
But
so
I
I'm
think
good.
on stuff you can go too easy. That's like a car with really, I mean, Samantha Subaru has steering that you can put a feather on her wheel and it'll turn.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's fast and stuff, but it's it's not. I don't know. It's not accurate, I guess, because you hit a bump and stuff, and your hand moves, and the damn car goes.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
And
that makes sense.
that's kind of the same thing with the handle or whatever.
You need enough power to keep control over the airplane, but you don't want to give back. You don't want to give up a lot of feel. You don't want the tactile
Right.
side of it. You want to still be able to feel some of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to find that in between place there that lets you have lots of power, like power steering, but still, but you don't give up the feedback that you get. That tells you, hey, I'm overshooting or I'm pulling too hard or something like that. So
Yeah.
Well, that's like on my shotgun. Everybody, goes with 4-pound trigger pull and stuff like that. I shoot about 6.5, 7 pounds. Go the opposite way. Everybody's like, "Oh, your trigger pulls so hard." Outshoot me because I have feel. It's like the amount of pressure I can put on my finger. Now, I wouldn't make it 20 pounds to where I had to really strain to do it, but I got feel in that trigger to when I want it to go, it goes.
it doesn't go accidentally or when you're just kind of settling your finger. Yeah, that's a great analogy. That's it.
Yeah.
So
it all depends on what our goals are, right? If our goals are to fly at 5-second lap time, then I mean you're gonna get your feel at that lap time, right? Because you have to pull a lot of controls to move them. So then this will work very well over there. But now as you lose line tension, if you want to fly much slower, then wait a second, it would apply for both of them, right? Because if you want to fly slow, you're going to get this extra mechanical advantage. You don't care if you're flying slow, you're still going to get the controls over there. Right?
Yeah.
So slow with mechanical advantage versus fast with mechanical advantage going to turn the plane, right?
Well,
So
yeah,
either way,
so. Yeah.
So either way, mechanical advantage is something to be,
Yeah, I guess. Forgive me if it sounds like I'm putting words in your mouth, but if you have a trim to fly at 5-second laps and then you fly at, extremely slow 6-second laps, you may have no feel for what's going on because it's not because you're not, the control efforts are, your effort in is greatly greatly overpowering the effort that you have, or the pushback that you have from the airplane.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But it also like if you assume this would also give you like a little bit of exponent, because you still have the same arm on a flap horn, right? But the arm that moves the flaps in the other direction, right? It's much shorter. So the point of it's like if you're thinking I mean I'm pushing the flaps down here from this point, right? And the hinge point is here, right? So I have this long arm to create that moment. In this case, I'm having the much shorter moment arm, but I'm pushing in the same spot, right? But
yeah, I'm still not sure. Help me understand your sketch better. Hold that up again, please.
Okay.
It's still not, your control surface in both cases is basically pivoting at the pointy end there, right?
Yes.
That's still where the hinge is and stuff like that. And of course, on a traditional setup, you have the pivot of the horn is right on the hinge, right?
Yeah.
Now, what the second drawing? What is that circle that's halfway back? What is that? Okay, now that's the same as if you take. Now, to me, it looks the same as if you took that second system. It looks the same as the top one, only with the horn laid back at about a 15-degree angle. You put
No,
the hole in the same place.
Just move it back a little bit, right?
No, what I'm saying is that if you took it, your input is up above the flap and everything like that. It just doesn't look to me like it could work the same in both directions. You wouldn't get an equal throw up and down, would you?
No,
Because it's
you're right.
always going to be pivoting at the hinge line.
Yeah.
And that input point is behind the hinge line. It's the same as like Tom, when you introduce Expo, the old-fashioned way on a differential ailerons or something like that, you'd always put the horn back or something like that. Of course, with a computer radio, you don't mess with that. But the old days, you'd either do it with an offset servo arm or an offset control horn, and you could generate more up aileron and less down aileron, and yada yada.
Right.
I think we're losing John there.
You see that?
No, I'm here. I'm here. They're getting ready to go do some shopping, and there's a lot of noise going on. I was trying to find out where the mic button on this thing was, so I wouldn't be in the. Say
bottom
what?
center. You see the red thing is a phone. The connection. The left thing to the left. You can click mute and unmute on that.
Okay,
so if you want
I got
to mute your background, you can still hear, but whatever.
So this is the idea in general. Like, as you can see, the flaps may move like 10 degrees, but the control horn may move 20 degrees in this case. So you have a lot of mechanical advantage over there. So I think for a plane that doesn't use a lot of flaps, or use very little flaps movement, or very little elevator movement, or something like that, plus this mechanical advantage should be just like, and it's also like exponential if you look at it. If you have a lot of movement to make it just go a little bit. You see that?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still having a hard time visualizing it. I think I might have to make a little toy here and try to make that happen, because it doesn't look to me like you would get the same, for the same input. It looks like you would get a different movement up and down.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
That is correct. That is correct, because you have more movement on a flap horn comparing to what you have response on the flaps itself. So you're taking.
We agree on that then. Okay.
Yes.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you one thing that Dennis had us do for Samantha when she was real small was move the elevator push rod up to where the flat push rod connected, not to drop it. We got mechanical advantage that way. And that made, she could really tell the difference on how much pressure she had to put on the handle, just doing that. And still giving the 1-to-1. But all of her airplanes we built for her now are done the same way. Instead of having the flap high and then down below that, put the elevator push rod, we put them right together.
You're talking about at the bell crank, right?
No, on the flap horn. You know,
On the platform?
Yeah, the platform comes up and you have the one screw hole right at the very top, and then down a 1/4 of an inch, or whatever, you have the other one or whatever it is.
I understand what you're talking about now.
Then you go, you know, so one's at 1 inch, one's at 3/4 of an inch, and then you go back to your elevator at 3/4, gives you the 1-to-1. Dennis had us move it to the top at 1 inch. Use a 1-inch horn on the elevator, you still got 1-to-1, and the amount of pressure you have to put on there to work that is a lot less.
Okay. I think I got 1,000 words on it here. Let me see, what? No, the picture I'm saying. Let me see if I can get it. If I can do this share your screen here, and I had this working before. I want to share that, and then I want to put on that picture. You guys see that picture now?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Horn.
Yeah.
And this is what Steve is talking about. The flap. This is the push rod from the bell crank to the flap, and it's a ball length there. And then this is the push rod to the elevator, and we put it through on the same pivot point. All right, and then the flap, that's on the one side, and what you get is more movement to the elevator, so you can take this and use the long horn on the elevator if you want a 1-to-1, or shorter horns, and you get faster elevator and stuff like that. And this one is it actually works pretty good because you have this push rod is being loaded on one side by the flap and on the other side by the elevator, so it actually bounces pretty good. The flap horn doesn't carry any extra loads at all. It just has that pivot going through it, and then the the movement to the elevator is all direct and stuff like that. So it I started doing this on a lot of different things, especially using ball links and stuff. When I started using those, it's it's kind of a big old hobbernacle, but they're next to up next to the wing. It's not too big a deal. In the tail, of course, ball links always get kind of big and clunky and stuff back there if you don't have room for them. But here at the flap side, it's not too bad. So
I did mine. Well, for Samantha's, we did a little bit different. We stuck the other ball link on the other side of the horn.
Yeah.
And then basically the same way, but she really noticed a big difference. And it gives you more adjustment if you want to have a faster elevator.
Yeah, you get more throw into it.
Yeah. But yeah, when she was, weighing 90 some pounds, and it made a huge difference on her on how much pressure she needed to turn that.
Yeah. I've always been a fan of long control horns, and back in the 80s, especially when I published the Eclipse, I had my elevator horns were like 1.5 inches, 1.75 long, I think, at the flaps, and I was using a long pivot off the bell crank, and then I had my control limited to about 30 degrees total, because you just don't need any more than that, or at least I didn't think so, and still don't. And that all come together nicely. Now, still, I still think the missing piece is I'm really a big fan of that expo stuff, and I'm definitely want to get in on that. The next round of builds, next round of building and stuff. I think that's kind of the missing link, to all of this. So,
man, I'm still wondering about that counter-rotating prop.
It's very simple. Just try it back to back. Try it on the twister. That's an easy one.
But I don't have one. I don't. I'm just like I was wondering how you got that one running over there. You have an in runner or out runner on yours? You had a video of it a while ago.
What the are you talking about? Just a reverse pitch prop? You mean
No,
or
no. You have a
oh, you're talking about the bell crank. I'm sorry.
no the counter-rotating props.
Oh,
Oh,
two
the contra
props.
prop. Oh, okay, yeah. That was my my nephew's working on that. He's got planetary gear. That's about all I really know of it. I've seen some of his models and stuff. He lives down in Kentucky, so I don't see him a lot. But he has a contra rotating gear bolted on a onto a single outrunner motor. So, and of course, there's the other motors. You can buy the contra rotating motors. You know, the two motor sets.
Yeah, that's too much.
It's yeah, you get into a lot of complexity there.
It's not necessary. I think that's one of the simplest one. But if you think about it, yeah, basically two motors in a nose. Now you need two ESCs. You need the batteries to run both motors. I mean, just like the weight is piling
Well,
up.
yeah.
Like for what?
Yeah,
You
and
know?
and then the complexity I'm also worried about is that two motors are very long and they don't mount very nicely. You know, there's not a good way to mount that two motor stack because it's, you know, you mount it in the middle and it's going like this. You mount it at the back and, you know, that won't work. So you end up with, I think you'd almost end up with multiple mounts on it to make the darn thing work. So that's why the one motor system seemed to be good. And
I thought the same thing. It needed a mid mount. So half of it stuck behind the firewall, half of it stuck in front of the firewall.
Yeah. So the question I would have, Dennis, when you were playing with that stuff, did it use more power? Did you
it
break
hasn't been in the
even
air
with the
yet.
power?
It has not been in the air yet.
I see. Yeah. Because I'm very curious to what you find out. Is it using more power? Are you breaking even? Some people this says it's more efficient like that because it reduces, you know. But you know, every time I'm thinking about this counter rotating prop system, is like, what is it trying to accomplish, other than, you know, gyroscopic precision?
Yeah, and so yeah, I think what I've seen, what I've read about contra props is that properly done, you can actually gain a slight propeller efficiency, like 2 to 5% kind of thing. Not, you know, not 20%, but, you know, 2 to 5 if you do it exactly right. Now that's a deceptively simple statement. You can have it working at 10,000 RPM, and if you change to 9,500 RPM, you might have to start all over on re-optimizing things. All right. And if you have, you know, you might want to run the props. It seems to be you want, because the prop in front and the prop behind are seeing a different airflow, a different airstream. You either want to be able to change the pitch or change the RPM independently, which is where the two motor system makes that a little easier to accomplish. But the thing is that if it's not optimized, then that 2 to 5% is not going to happen. All right. So yeah, I don't know. I've been around and around with my nephew on it. He wanted to make one and everything like that. And I was saying, hey, you know, be careful. You know, you can't just, there's more to it than just putting two props on it, you know? And,
Well,
you know,
on YouTube, that one guy now is showing a package he has with the motor and prop.
Yeah, I've seen it and read about it. I haven't, I've seen his pictures and stuff and read his claims and everything, but it's, I tell you where, how fundamentally off I am is that I know what happens when I go from a right-hand rotation to a left-hand rotation prop, and the difference is based on the torque effect. So so why would I assume that giving up all the torque is going to be an improvement? All right, am I making sense there? It's like I'm getting this torque, this left-hand prop torque. I'm getting a torque, and I'm seeing what I think is an improvement. Why do I want to give that away?
Hmm.
If I have a right-hand prop, I have the torque that is working against me in certain areas. It's still working for me in some places, but it's working against me in some places. So I can see, where torque the opposite direction would be a good idea. But I'm just not really sure that zero torque is the right answer.
Zero torque and a Ravy rudder.
If I'm going to do that, I'll just put more rudder offset in it in the first.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So. So yeah, those are two things that I was thinking about. Like you either have the counter give you a little bit more uniform, like are you losing pull or you gaining pull depending in which direction the if you're doing inside maneuvers or outside maneuvers. Okay, I can see that going away and having a uniform pull regardless what you're doing. You're going inside to outside or whatever helps. I think it'd be a nice thing to have. But another thing that they say is that they clean up the airflow towards the back of the plane, right? But if that's the main thing that you do it for, then it doesn't make any sense, because you can just put a little bit of a, like the RCE pattern guys are doing. They put a little wing behind the canopy, and that collects all the turbulence and streamlines it, so it sends a nice clean air to the elevator, and that can weigh like 2-3 grams.
Well, no matter what you're doing, I mean, if you're going to be relying on propellers to move the air, you're going to have turbulence and circulation behind those propellers, no matter what you do. And if you have a counter prop, you're still going to have turbulence and circulation.
Maybe
you're
less
end
a
up,
little bit.
it's going to be which prop do you want on the front, which do you want on the back? Do you want the right hand prop on front, or do you want the left hand prop on front? And I gotta believe that there would be a difference, because I would think the circulation behind the prop is going to be behind the second prop. It's not going to care what's in front, the front prop. It's coming off the second prop.
I'm buying
And
that.
I think that circulation is part of the prize, if you will, for the left-hand prop. You get a different different reaction at the rudder, which basically acts like rudder offset, I guess, when you come right down to it. But I think you want the right-hand prop in front. But until I flew one back to back, I'd be a little reluctant to tell you that for sure. So
I'd
I don't know.
I'd almost think you'd have to have more pitch on the aft prop.
Exactly.
Because of the angle coming off the first prop. And if you try to use the same prop front and rear, you might just be running more drag between the two.
Well, I was talking to Keith Shaw. You may have heard that name. He is one of the pioneers in electric flight. He's an RC flyer, formerly a pylon racer, and things like that. He built a sport scale model, electric powered, of the Bugatti 100. The real sexy looking swept wing or swept forward wing airplane, and he had the contra props on it. Set it all up, went through, and he had gearboxes and everything like that with cobalt motors. That's how he's trying to make it work. He set it all up, and he first took it out, and it would go 65 to 70 miles an hour. And by the time he figured out strictly by trial and error, while he was also watching the current, he had some feedback on the current draw from the two motors, and he figured out the front motor was doing all the work. The back motor wasn't doing any work. By the time he got them both loaded up, he was, instead of going 65 to 70, he was going 110 miles an hour. All right, but both props were doing the work. But the key thing is that this guy's a doctor and everything like that, a doctorate in I believe in airflow, and it took him a lot of effort to take this one airplane and make it work right. And he says even now, the system optimized, when he takes off, he can show he's got the feedback that says, and he's taken off, the front prop is doing all the work. until it reaches a certain airspeed, and the back prop gets in. Basically gets into play.
So you have to tune it to the speed.
Well, that's it. So it's a question of the motor RPM and the airspeed and everything else, but the pitch, like John says.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
Too was they had these huge engines and they couldn't get enough propeller on them without having really tall gear. And that was, I think, the main reason.
That's it. And on a full-size airplane, the last generation Spitfires and stuff like that, 2,400 horsepower, and then like you say, trying to take that 2,400 horsepower and deliver it to the airstream, and it's either put too big a prop on it or put two props. But even then, with the two props, they could control the pitch individually and stuff like that, and they make sure that they were both loading up properly. There'd be in the constant pitch control scheme. So, but you don't get that kind of feedback, or at least not with our normal systems. And so I don't know exactly how you'd get there from here. So
one difference that may make a difference is with the remote control plane, you're changing throttle a lot. With control line, you're at a constant throttle all the time. So
yeah, that should make it easier to optimize, right? So I think.
And I think the torque, when you're changing throttle with counter rotating props, then the torque is less of a difference when you're changing the throttle.
Mm-hmm.
When you're going
you're right. In World War II, the P-51, there were more pilots, I understand, killed trying to take that thing off, where they or land it, giving it the power, not a huge enough rudder. They would just roll themselves right over. That is another reason why they went to counter rotating, was to control that power without having the torque reactions on the aircraft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't think we need.
I also agree with Tryon that it's a lot of complexity for what.
I don't think we need it for stunt. I don't think it's the end all be all of stunt power systems. I think the electric is far better.
Yeah,
holds more promise.
It's I hesitate. We've seen so many wonderful things happen and some not so wonderful things, but you don't give up on it before you try it and everything like that. But in this case, going into it, I'm perfectly happy to sit on the sidelines and see how this one plays out.
Me too.
So,
me too.
Well, that's like when I was doing all the shooting. My coach said, you don't change nothing until you're at your 98%.
Mm-hmm.
If the gun shoots straight, all that stuff, and it relatively fits you good. Once you're at 98%, now you can tweak on stuff. But the worst thing that happened to people were these adjustable guns. You see them out there, the damn recoil pad moves up and down, and the cheek piece moves, and you can adjust point of impact, and you can adjust triggers easy. These guys are always adjusting, always adjusting, always adjusting. Your brain can't adjust to that stuff that fast. I mean, stuff has to work. And it's like I said, I went to a 6.5 pound trigger, but that was over 10 years of shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking, okay, this is giving me a little bit of a problem. I want to try this. Until I went too far and come back. But once I had the gun adjusted, I never changed it again. It's always there. Nobody touches it. Nobody adjusts on anything. And a lot of my adjustability stuff, I've taken out. So I can't adjust things because I don't know. Your mind believes, if I could just change this, I'd be the champion. And you really, you got to be at 98% of your game before you may notice counter rotating props will help you with one point in your flight.
Mm-hmm.
or this kind of stuff will help you with 1 point. You got to get to 560s before you're worried about the 1 point.
Yeah. Well, and I will tell you that the first time I flew a left-hand rotation prop, I was very, very surprised at what it paid off, but I was also instantly, converted.
Yeah.
So again, I was out with my nephew flying we lost him, John Miller. Yeah, yeah, you're back. Said I was just explaining the first time I ever flew a left-hand rotation prop. It was on a Pathfinder ARF. And we had one set up with a 12.6 APC on it and had a left-hand 12.6 on it, available for it. I flew it, my nephew flew it, and then we put the lefty prop on it. My nephew flew it, and I says, "What do you think?" He just smiled at me. He says, "I ain't going to say a thing. Go fly it." So I went up and I flew it. I said, "Holy mackerel! Where did that come from?"
Yeah, that's what I mean. Samantha loved when you got us to try. She loves.
Yeah, and it's it was just, and I think we even at that point we had the airplane set up with like a 2-minute motor run, and we were doing vertical 8s, hourglasses, and overhead 8s. That's all we did. And that was, that's where the payoff was supposed to be. And my God, there was a payoff. I mean, it was a night and day thing, and I instantly converted and committed and everything like that, and I haven't looked back on that. So the reason I tell that story is that maybe I'll find the same thing when I fly a Contra. As negative as I sound right now, but I can't, in my mind, I can't figure out how it could possibly do better. But I've been wrong before. So,
were you able to reduce tip weight when you did that change?
No, not so much tip weight. I have found that the line rake position, I keep sneaking it far and far forward. The lead out's moving forward, less and less rake all the time. But the tip weight, I think, is still a function basically of the weight of the lines.
Yeah, I was like Samantha when we did that. We went to left-handed props on that Vector that she had flown. We end up finding out we couldn't move the lines far enough forward for her.
Mm-hmm.
We had it jammed all the way as far forward as it was go, and she still wanted more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it just wasn't there.
Yep. So,
man, why you got your lines so far forward?
I don't know. That whole thing on line position is blowing my mind, though. I know what I'm doing. I know what my feedback is, and I know why I put the lead outs where I do. And then I walk over and I see Paul Walker's airplane. His airplane can't possibly fly with the lead outs where they're at.
Yeah, way back like that.
They're like 3 or 4 inches farther back.
Oh yeah.
He's not in the same universe. And guess what? Works pretty damn good, don't it?
Yeah.
And the only conclusion I can draw is maybe lead out position don't mean squat. I mean, how could both answers be correct?
Is Walker running a reverse pitch prop? A reverse prop?
He is not anymore. He was using one for a while, and then he started using the lightweight Igor prop, and Igor only makes them in right-hand rotation. And I think he went for lightweight over reverse. So,
well, that'd be one of the reasons why he's got his lead out support back. You're getting a different yaw effect with the reverse prop, and he's gone back to the regular prop.
But again,
I've heard. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, are you flying any of your IC airplanes with the lead outs that far back? So
no.
There's got to be more in play than just the rotation of the prop. So
look at the design on the nose. That's a skinny nose on Walker's plane.
The P-51 isn't so skinny. No, I'm not
talking about. I'm talking about his latest. His latest
47. I mean, yeah.
No, I'm talking about Walker's his PA airplane.
I have not seen his brand new airplane.
It's got a nose that starts probably about twice the diameter at the base as it is up at the spinner back.
It's a very skinny, pointy nose, huh? Okay.
Yeah, and it's longer than what he had on his other impacts. So
Mhm.
I think that's probably a function of the design. Why he's getting away with it that far back.
Well, he's been running them like that for a while. He was even his impacts, electric impacts that were, as I understand it, at least, well, obviously they've evolved, but they were pretty darn close to what his gas impacts were. And he was flying the lead outs. Somehow he convinced himself, or whatever, to move the lead outs way back, and he's doing it that way, and it obviously works for him. And then but I've seen other electric airplanes with right hand or left hand props that the lead outs well forward in what I call a traditional location, and they work pretty well too. Actually, like mine, I've got the lead outs basically on the CG. All right, I mean
that's about where I've got mine is.
None of this 1 or 2 degree stuff or anything like that. I got like the front line on the CG and the back line, 3/4 of an inch behind it. So.
Well, I haven't flown in 6 or 7 years, but when I was flying, I was about the same place, just at the CG or just a touch less, behind it, just barely. But Walker's in a league of his own when it comes to flying and how he trims his planes out, and what he's looking for, and we don't know. Maybe he got rid of the problem that Doug Moon's having with his latest airplane, that doing all that whippy do at certain points in the flight schedule, rolling all around and bouncing, and who knows? He's master trimming.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, he obviously knows the art of trimming an airplane beyond mortal men and everything like that. But this is it's just so when you see something like that that's just so clearly different, you have to stop and scratch your noggin a little bit. Just what the heck is going on here, And then you watch this airplane fly. Usually used to be, if the airplane, the lead outs were too far back, you could see obvious signs of it, in the air. And I don't see that with his, at least not like that. And I have not seen his latest airplane fly, but I'm sure that it doesn't have any bad tricks, bad points like that either. But I don't know. In one hand, I say, well, gee, lead out position doesn't matter. On the other hand, I got all these years of flying an airplane where I move the lead outs 1/8 of an inch and get a profound effect. And so that can't be. Both answers don't fit. So
I think a lot of that stuff's individual. What people like. That'd be like when I was playing baseball as a kid. If I thought that if I used Babe Ruth's bat, I'd hit 500 home runs in a year. Ain't gonna frickin' happen.
Hey guys, let me interrupt you for just a second. I'm going to go ahead and close the YouTube feed. So y'all have at it. You got free reign for however long you want to hang out. But I'd like to thank all the YouTubers. We had a good crowd out there tonight, and collected a few names of people who are interested in the Hyper Vipers. So anybody else, ping me. You'll look up and see I posted my email address, and you can ping me at that address. So I'll have your message when I get in touch with Greg Rodney. I'll forward you his company email. And thanks, y'all. Helped make it a great show, and you guys in there and with video and microphones. Couldn't do it without y'all, man. It was a great show tonight. So everybody,
thanks for refereeing. All right. So, I think we should take up a collection and buy Rusty a referee shirt. So
yeah, be pretty cool.
But maybe a bulletproof vest would help too, huh?
Hey, while I was gone, four spammers came in here and posted troll stuff. I had to. Oh, here's another one. Crazy Apple Boy. I think I better knock him out. So,
all right. Take care, my friend. Good luck with your procedure. Now go get some sleep, will ya? So
yeah, man. All right. Thanks.
Bye, Rusty. Good night, and I'm gonna say good night too.
You're gonna say good night, man?
Yes. I'm sorry.
I think everybody's individual, and you got to work around stuff that, you know, you can't help. Some people have faster reflexes. You know, some people have better eyesight and all this kind of stuff to where it's a zero-sum game that, hey, this is the best prop, or this is the best airplane, or this is the best handle. It has,
For them.
has to be what you like the best, what works the best for you.
Yeah, it's for them. Yeah. Good night,
Yeah.
guys.
NASCAR, they said
Good night,
that
all.
you got a team that